Let your breath soften, as though it were settling into a quiet pool beneath the moon, and allow your body to rest as gently as a lotus closing for the night. Feel the presence of the Buddha beside you, steady and luminous, guiding you toward the middle way, a path where nothing needs to be forced, and nothing needs to be held too tightly. Let the weight of the day loosen its grip, falling away like leaves drifting from an ancient tree, while you return to the simple truth that this moment is enough. With each inhale, take refuge in calm awareness. With each exhale, release whatever clings to the heart. Here, in the hush of this stillness, you are already arriving. The forest is quiet in the soft blue hour, that gentle moment between fading daylight and the hush of evening's arrival. The air is cool and tender, carrying the faint scent of jasmine drifting from somewhere unseen. Crickets begin their unhurried singing, as though they, too, sense the presence moving along the winding path. You walk slowly, your steps softened by layers of fallen leaves, your breath easing as the forest settles around you like a comforting cloak. And then, just ahead, you notice a figure walking with deliberate calm, unhurried, serene, and radiating a quiet warmth that gently draws you forward. It is the Buddha, moving with the ease of someone completely at home in the world, yet untouched by its turbulence. His robes ripple softly at his ankles, brushing the path as though in conversation with the earth itself. The moment he becomes aware of your presence, he turns, not quickly, not sharply, but with a gentle acknowledgement, as though he had known you would be here all along. His eyes meet yours, steady and compassionate, carrying the stillness of deep waters untouched by wind. Without a word, he invites you to walk beside him. The forest seems to soften further, as though listening for his voice. When he speaks, his tone is soft and measured, each word settling into the quiet like a leaf, drifting peacefully onto water. You have already taken the first step, he says, by choosing to be here, aware of your breath, your body, your presence on this path. Many walk through life without ever arriving where they are. But you, he glances at you gently. You are beginning to arrive. His words ease something in your chest, an unspoken tension you hadn't realized you were holding. The rhythm of your steps begins to match his, not because you are trying, but because walking near him feels like resting in motion. The forest echoes this calm. Branches sway in a soft evening breeze, and the distant call of an owl seems to fold itself into the stillness. The Buddha gestures to the world around you. To walk with awareness, he says quietly, is to understand the simple truth that this moment is enough. Not what came before, not what might come after. This moment is where the heart learns to breathe. You feel the truth of his words in your body, in the rise and fall of your breath, in the subtle shift of your attention as it settles fully into the present. Thoughts begin to dissolve like mist, touched by early sunlight. Even the forest seems to lean closer, as if sharing in your awareness. After a while, he continues, many wander through life searching for peace outside themselves. They look to achievements, possessions, or praise. They fear loss, cling to what changes, and resist what must unfold. And yet peace does not live outside. It lives here. He touches his fingertips lightly to his chest, a quiet place, always waiting for you to return. The path narrows slightly as you walk, curving around ancient trees whose roots twist, like the stories of ages past. The Buddha walks with ease, each step a gentle teaching. You begin to notice the sound of your own footsteps, the softness of the soil, the rhythm of leaves brushing against one another. Everything feels slower, clearer, as though the world had been turned down to a peaceful hum. He glances toward you again. When awareness blooms, the heart grows soft. And when the heart grows soft, wisdom begins to take root. His smile is warm, touched with a kindness that feels both timeless and deeply personal. The forest begins to open into a wider clearing, where moonlight rests upon stones worn smooth by time. Fireflies drift lazily through the air, their lights pulsing like tiny breathing stars. The Buddha steps into the clearing and pauses, allowing you to take in the quiet beauty around you. Here, he says, we pause for a moment. Let the stillness reach you. Let it show you that peace is never far. You close your eyes briefly, absorbing the soft sounds, the whisper of a wind, the low murmuring of distant water, the gentle hum of nighttime life awakening. Your breath deepens, and a sense of safety begins to settle into your limbs. When you open your eyes, the Buddha is watching you with an expression that feels like understanding. He turns, guiding you once more onto the path that now leads deeper into the forest, where shadows grow softer and the night begins to weave its quiet tapestry. There is something important that all who walk this path must understand, he says softly as you follow beside him. To find peace, one must first understand why the heart struggles. Only by seeing suffering clearly can one learn to be free from it. His steps are steady, guiding you through the quiet forest, and with every movement you feel yourself drawn further into the gentle journey he is unfolding, toward the calm truth waiting just ahead. Night deepens as you continue walking beside the Buddha, the quiet forest, now illuminated by soft strokes of moonlight that gather along the path. The trees stand tall and gentle, their branches swaying as though offering a silent blessing. Each step you take feels lighter than the one before, as though the earth itself has softened beneath your feet. The Buddha walks with a serene steadiness, neither hurried nor slow, simply present, completely rooted in the unfolding moment. When he speaks again, his voice is calm, warm, and as soothing as water running over polished stones. There is something all beings share, he begins, a truth woven through every life, whether touched by joy or shadow. It is the truth of suffering, not as a punishment or flaw, but as a natural part of existence, like the changing of seasons, or the rise and fall of the tide. His words drift into the night air with a gentle clarity, never heavy, never harsh. They simply are, inviting understanding rather than fear. The Buddha gestures softly toward the world around you. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, hearts experience delight and disappointment. Just as rivers rise and recede, we encounter moments that nourish us and moments that challenge us. To recognize suffering is not to despair. It is to open the door to wisdom. You listen in stillness, feeling the resonance of his words settle quietly inside you. So often suffering has felt like an obstacle, something to escape or deny. Yet here, under the gentle veil of moonlight, the Buddha describes it with such compassion that it no longer feels sharp or frightening. Instead, it feels like a shared experience, something that connects all beings in tenderness and understanding. The Buddha slows his steps, allowing you to walk with even greater presence. Suffering arises in many forms, he says softly. The ache of wanting what does not come, the fear of losing what we hold dear, the confusion when life shifts unexpectedly. But when we look with soft eyes, with patience and compassion, we begin to see suffering not as an enemy, but as a teacher. A night breeze sweeps through the clearing, carrying with it the scent of cool earth and distant blossoms. You breathe in slowly, letting the air settle into your chest and feel the subtle release of burdens you didn't realize you were carrying. The Buddha notices this quiet ease and offers a kind smile. When we acknowledge our suffering, he continues, we cease running from what is already within us. We offer ourselves the kindness of honesty. Only then can the heart begin to heal, for a wound tended with care becomes a place of understanding. He turns his gaze upward toward the stars, which shimmer like scattered lanterns across the sky. Imagine, he says, a small flame flickering in the dark. If you cover it, the flame suffocates. If you ignore it, the darkness grows. But if you cup your hands gently around it, protecting it without smothering, it becomes steady, bright and warm. He lowers his eyes to meet yours. In the same way, we must hold our suffering gently, not clinging to it, not rejecting it, but allowing it to be seen. Your breath deepens. In the quiet of the forest, you feel the truth of his words like a warm current moving through you. There is peace in acknowledging what hurts, peace in recognizing that you are not alone in these feelings. All beings, in their own ways, walk with sorrow and joy intertwined. The Buddha begins walking again, the path now illuminated by shimmering patches of moonlight that guide your steps. When we see suffering clearly, he says, we also begin to see its fleeting nature. No discomfort lasts forever, just as no joy can be held permanently. All things arise and pass away. Understanding this brings a gentle courage to the heart. The forest around you seems to breathe with this truth. Branches swaying softly, leaves rustling in whispers. The distant sound of water flowing steadily through the darkness. Everything is moving, changing, transforming. And yet, within that movement, a deep stillness remains. Suffering, the Buddha says, is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of awareness. When we understand it softly, without fear, the path ahead becomes clearer. We begin to see not only the existence of suffering, but the forces that give rise to it. His steps grow quiet, thoughtful, as though he is guiding you toward an understanding that will illuminate the path ahead. You feel your heart opening, ready to hear more, ready to walk further into the teachings that are unfolding before you like petals unfurling at dawn. The Buddha turns gently toward you, his eyes filled with compassion. And now, he says, let us look more deeply. Let us understand what stirs suffering into being, so that we may learn how to ease it. With that, you continue walking beside him, into the deeper forest, and into the next truth waiting to be revealed. The forest deepens as you and the Buddha continue along the quiet path, the air cooling as night settles fully around you. Above, the moon hangs like a pale lantern suspended in the sky, illuminating the world with a soft silver radiance. Every sound feels gentle now. The low murmur of night insects, the rhythmic sway of branches, the soft thud of your footsteps on the earth. Beside you, the Buddha walks with the same steady calm, as though the entire forest moves in harmony with his breath. When he begins to speak again, his voice carries the same unhurried tenderness as the moonlit air. You have seen how suffering lives within all beings, he says quietly. Now let us look at what feeds it, the roots beneath the surface, hidden, yet powerful enough to shape an entire life. He pauses, allowing the stillness to gather around the words. Craving and clinging are the roots from which suffering grows. Ahead, the path leads toward a cluster of ancient trees, whose roots twist and coil across the ground like living sculptures. Their shapes are intricate, intertwined, reaching deep into the earth. The Buddha gestures toward them. Just as these roots anchor the tree and shape its growth, craving and clinging anchor suffering within the mind. They bind us to what is unstable and ever-changing. He steps closer to the trees, resting his gaze on the tangled roots. Craving arises when we chase after what we believe will bring us lasting happiness, pleasure, recognition, comfort, possession. But these things, like leaves in the wind, cannot remain. When they slip through our fingers, we feel the sting of loss. When they stay, we fear the moment they might disappear. You feel the truth of this deeply, remembering the countless moments when wanting something intensely seemed to consume your thoughts, only to dissolve the instant you obtained it, or never came at all. The Buddha continues, sensing your reflection. And when we cling, he says gently, we hold tightly to what is meant to flow. We cling to ideas of who we should be, to expectations of how life should unfold, to people who must eventually walk their own path. Clinging turns the moving river of experience into something we try to grasp with closed fists. But no matter how tightly we hold, water slips away. The wind stirs softly, rustling the leaves above you like a faint whisper of agreement. The Buddha lifts his face slightly, listening to the night. Nothing in this world can be held forever. Not youth, not praise, not possessions, not even the breath. When we cling to what cannot remain, the heart becomes weary. You walk together again, stepping over the intricate roots as the path opens before you. The Buddha's voice is steady and compassionate. This does not mean we cannot love or enjoy the world. It means we learn to love without trapping, to enjoy without grasping, to hold life gently, as one holds a lotus blossom, enjoying its beauty without trying to bind it. He looks down at the path ahead, illuminated by strands of silver light. Craving pulls us forward into imaginary tomorrows. Clinging drags us back into yesterday's shadows. But peace lives only here, in the soft, spacious moment beneath your feet. A stream becomes audible in the distance, its flowing sound mingling with the rhythm of your breath. When you reach it, the Buddha pauses at the water's edge. The moonlight reflects on its surface, creating shimmering patterns that shift and reform without resistance. Look, he says softly, the water does not cling to a single shape. It moves freely, embracing each moment of its journey, and because of that freedom, it remains clear. He kneels slightly, dipping his fingers into the stream. Ripples extend outward, creating gentle rings of motion that expand and fade. When the mind releases craving and clinging, even for a moment, it becomes like this water, clear, reflective, open. You feel a sense of spaciousness rise within you, as though the weight of expectations, worries, and desires has begun to loosen its grip. Standing beside the flowing water, you allow the breath to quiet itself, noticing the subtle relief that comes from simply letting things be as they are. The Buddha rises and begins walking again, guiding you along the riverbank where fireflies drift lazily through the air. Understanding craving and clinging is not meant to bring shame, he says warmly. It is meant to bring compassion. All beings struggle with these forces. All beings wish to be happy. And when we see our own craving clearly, we begin to soften. We begin to understand the cravings of others as well. His words settle gently into your heart, like petals floating onto the water's surface. In this understanding, freedom begins. When we see the roots, we can loosen them. When we loosen them, suffering weakens. And when suffering weakens, peace becomes possible. He looks ahead into the deeper forest, where the path seems to glow faintly beneath the moonlight. Now, he says with a quiet certainty, let us walk forward and discover the truth that arises when these roots are gently released. With the soft river beside you, and the calm guidance of the Buddha leading you onward, you step into the deeper stillness waiting ahead, ready for the next unfolding truth. The river continues its low, peaceful murmuring beside you, as you and the Buddha walk deeper into the night-softened forest. The moon drifts higher, casting gentle silver across the leaves, turning each one into a small lantern swaying in the breeze. The air has grown even calmer now, as though the world itself is leaning closer to listen. The Buddha's presence feels steady and luminous, like a shelter of clarity within the quiet darkness. When he finally speaks again, his voice carries the softness of a candle flame, warm and steady. When the roots of craving and clinging loosen, he begins, A light arises within the heart, a light that is not born from the world, yet illuminates every part of it. You feel the hush of his words envelop you, as though a warm blanket has settled across your shoulders. This light is freedom, he says gently, the freedom that comes when suffering no longer binds the mind. You walk a few more steps before he stops at a small clearing, its center bathed in moonlight so pale and tranquil it looks almost like mist. The Buddha stands still for a moment, letting the silence deepen around you, letting it become part of the teaching. Suffering ends, he says softly, not through force, nor through denial, but through understanding. When the mind sees clearly the nature of craving, the futility of grasping, and the changing nature of all things, it naturally releases its hold. And in that release, the heart awakens. The clearing feels like a sanctuary, open, quiet, and held by the night. A sense of serenity settles over your chest, easing places you hadn't realized were tense. The Buddha continues, his voice steady and soothing. Liberation is not something distant, he says. It is not a reward waiting at the end of a long road. It is here in this moment, whenever the mind rests without grasping, whenever awareness shines gently on experience without fear or resistance. He kneels beside a patch of soft earth, lifting a fallen leaf between his fingers. Its surface glows in the moonlight, delicate and transparent. This leaf once clung to a branch, believing its life depended on holding tightly. But now, released, it rests peacefully upon the ground. It is light, unburdened, free. He lets the leaf drift from his hand, and it floats down in a graceful spiral, landing without a sound. In the same way, he says, the heart becomes light when it lets go of what it cannot keep. You feel the truth of this unfold inside you. Memories of old fears, unfulfilled desires, and lingering disappointments stir faintly, but instead of tightening around them, you notice how they soften, how they begin to dissolve the moment you meet them with kindness, rather than resistance. The Buddha rises, his robes whispering against the earth. To realize the end of suffering is to discover a homecoming, he says, a return to the natural ease of the mind when it is no longer driven by restlessness. When the heart is free from its own storms, there is a quiet joy that arises, a joy untouched by circumstance. You walk beside him once more as he moves slowly through the clearing, and the night seems to shine a little brighter. Fireflies gather near the edges, their soft lights flickering like gentle affirmations of the freedom he speaks about. The forest, the air, even your own breath feels more spacious. The mind is often like a lantern covered in dust, he murmurs. When craving and clinging fade, the dust clears, and the lantern glows on its own. He glances toward you, his eyes warm. This is the light of liberation. It exists within every being, waiting to be uncovered. A breeze stirs the branches above you, scattering soft beams of moonlight across the forest floor. With every step you take, you feel a deepening awareness of this inner light, subtle yet unmistakable. A sense of possibility opens within your chest, gentle and expansive. Do not think of freedom as an escape from the world, the Buddha says as he walks gently ahead. It is the understanding that allows you to move through the world without being entangled by it. With a free heart, you may love deeply without clinging, act wisely without fear, and rest peacefully without regret. His steps slow as you approach another path, a narrow trail glowing faintly beneath the moon. He pauses, gazing down its length as though seeing something both familiar and endlessly new. When suffering ends, he continues softly, the path ahead reveals itself more clearly. A path of balance, neither pulled by indulgence nor burdened by denial. This is the middle way. A gentle, steady road that leads the heart toward peace. You feel the invitation in his words, a quiet promise that the journey is unfolding exactly as it should. The night breathes softly around you, and the air seems filled with a warm expectancy. With a serene nod, the Buddha begins walking again, guiding you toward the illumination waiting on the next stretch of the path, where the middle way begins to reveal its quiet, harmonious truth. The path opens into a gentle stretch of forest where the moonlight softens the world into shades of silver and pale blue. The night air is cool and inviting, and each breath you take feels as though it carries a quiet blessing. The Buddha walks just ahead of you, his movements steady and unhurried, as though he is guided not by the path beneath his feet, but by the deep stillness within his being. As he pauses beneath a broad canopy of leaves, the forest seems to hush around him, waiting for his words with the same serenity that fills your heart. The freedom we speak of, he begins, is not found by running toward pleasure, nor by fleeing from the world. It is discovered in balance, gentle, steady balance. His voice is soft, but it resonates through the night like a clear bell. This is the middle way, the path that neither indulges desire nor punishes the body. It is the way that honors the whole of your being. He reaches down and lifts a slender twig from the ground, holding it delicately between his fingers. Imagine a lute string, he says. If pulled too tight, it snaps. If left too loose, it cannot sing. Only when held with just the right tension does it create a harmonious sound. He lets the twig fall softly back to the earth, its landing no louder than a whisper. The mind and heart are the same. Too much grasping brings suffering. Too much suppression brings suffering. But in balance, wisdom has room to flourish. As you walk beside him, you feel the truth of this reflected in your own breath. When you try too hard, the breath grows strained. When you do not try at all, the mind wanders. But in the gentle middle, where breath simply rises and falls, clarity emerges naturally. The Buddha moves forward, and the path glows subtly with each step, illuminated by fragments of moonlight that filter through the trees. The middle way, he continues, is not a narrow road, though some believe it so. It is wide like the horizon, open to each moment as it is, without resistance or grasping. It asks only that you meet life with awareness, neither clinging to what pleases nor rejecting what challenges. A soft wind drifts through the leaves overhead, and the forest sighs as though releasing a long-held tension. The Buddha motions for you to listen. Even the wind follows the middle way. It is neither stillness that never moves, nor storm that destroys. It flows with what is needed, gentle or strong, always responding to the world, without clinging to any one form. You walk on quietly, feeling the balance of the middle way subtly shaping your thoughts. Memories arise, moments when you pushed yourself too hard, times when you gave up too easily, days when you clung to joy or feared loss. As these images drift through your awareness, they begin to soften, loosening their hold on you. The Buddha senses this shift and speaks with a gentle smile. To leave the middle way is to allow the heart to rest in natural ease, he says. When you stop forcing the mind toward extremes, you begin to feel the space in which wisdom grows. You begin to notice that peace is not something to chase. It is something revealed when agitation fades. He steps into a small clearing where the moonlight pours like liquid silver across the ground. Fireflies drift lazily around him, their lights blinking softly as though echoing his teachings. He sits upon a smooth stone and invites you to rest beside him. The forest around you feels like a temple, open, sacred, and alive with quiet truth. The middle way guides us toward harmony, he says. Harmony with the body, with thoughts, with emotions, with the world. He closes his eyes briefly, breathing with a calm that radiates outward like warm light. When harmony is present, suffering weakens. When harmony grows, the mind becomes clear, and with clarity, the next steps of the path reveal themselves. You sit peacefully, feeling the stillness settle through your limbs. Something within you loosens, a long internal exhale that feels like the beginning of a new understanding. The Buddha opens his eyes and looks toward you with deep compassion. When the heart is balanced, he says softly, it becomes ready to walk a path of wisdom. A path that leads to liberation not through belief alone, but through direct experience. This path is called the Noble Eightfold Path. The night seems to brighten at his words, as though the moon itself is leaning closer. You feel a quiet anticipation rising within you, a sense that the journey ahead is unfolding with perfect gentleness, step by step, breath by breath. The Buddha stands, his robe settling softly around him, and begins to walk once more into the forest's silver-lit corridor. Come, he says with serene warmth. Let us begin with the first truth of this path, the one that guides all others. And with that, you rise and walk beside him, ready to learn how clear seeing becomes the foundation for all wisdom. The forest path grows narrower as you follow the Buddha deeper into the quiet embrace of the night. Overhead, the moon spreads its gentle light like a calm, watching eye, illuminating the leaves and the soft curve of the trail ahead. Each footstep feels lighter now, each breath smoother, as if the air itself is encouraging your mind to settle into clarity. The Buddha walks just ahead, his silhouette steady and composed, moving with the grace of someone perfectly aligned with the rhythm of the world. After a few moments of peaceful silence, he slows and turns slightly, so his voice can reach you with natural ease. To understand the middle way, we begin with seeing, he says softly. Not merely with the eyes, but with the heart and mind together. This is right view, the foundation from which wisdom grows. He motions toward the surrounding trees, their branches swaying gently, casting moving shadows on the ground. The world is always offering truth, he continues, but most beings look only through the lens of their desires and fears. When the mind is clouded, it sees not what is there, but what it wants or dreads to find. Right view is the clearing of those clouds. It is seeing things as they truly are. You notice how his words seem to settle into the air, like soft ripples across still water. The Buddha's tone remains gentle, free of blame or expectation. Right view does not demand perfection, he explains. It only asks for honesty, the willingness to observe experience without clinging, without pushing away, without weaving stories around it. He pauses near a small pool formed by the river's winding path. The surface is mirror still, reflecting the moon above with remarkable clarity. Look at this water, he says. When it is calm, it reflects the sky exactly as it is. When agitated, it distorts the truth. The mind behaves in just the same way. You kneel beside the pool, watching how your own reflection appears steady and clear beneath the moonlight. The Buddha crouches beside you, letting his fingertips graze the water. Ripples bloom outward from his touch, gentle circles that distort the reflection just slightly. Most minds live in this state, he says, stirred by craving, shaken by aversion, troubled by confusion. The truth is present, yet difficult to see. As the ripples fade, the reflection returns to perfect stillness. He smiles softly, but clarity is never far. It returns the moment the mind settles. The two of you stand again, continuing along the quiet path. The Buddha's voice is steady, warm. Right view is the understanding of cause and effect, the recognition that all things arise from conditions. Nothing appears without reason, and nothing remains unchanged. This is not a rule to obey, but a truth to observe. When we see clearly how actions lead to outcomes, how thoughts shape experience, how intentions give rise to suffering or peace, we begin to walk with wisdom. The idea feels reassuring, not daunting. Seeing reality as it is becomes less of a challenge and more of a gentle invitation. You feel your chest loosen slightly as the forest air flows around you, as if some unseen knot has begun to loosen within. Right view, the Buddha continues, also means accepting impermanence with an open heart, understanding that everything we encounter, joy, sorrow, gain, loss, praise, blame, is passing. When we understand this deeply, fear diminishes. We no longer cling to what cannot remain. We no longer resist what must unfold. We begin to move through life with steady steps. You sense how this truth softens the mind. Without clinging or fearing, the world becomes less threatening, more spacious. Even the forest seems to reflect this widening sense of ease, the trees swaying gently, the glow of moonlight spreading calmly across the ground. The Buddha glances toward you with kind eyes. When fear loses its hold, the heart opens, and when the heart opens, compassion arises naturally. Right view is not cold or distant. It warms the mind by freeing it from confusion. He steps over a fallen branch, guiding you toward a stretch of path bathed in softer moonlight. The forest sounds grow quieter, as though the world itself is listening. Seeing clearly, he says, is the beginning of wisdom, and wisdom naturally guides the heart toward wholesome intention. When you see cause and effect without distortion, your intentions begin to align with truth, rather than craving. You walk beside him, feeling something shift within you. Not a sudden revelation, but a gentle brightening, like the first hint of dawn behind distant mountains. The path ahead feels more welcoming, more navigable, as though clarity has begun lighting the way. The Buddha slows his pace, his voice becoming even softer. From clear seeing arises the wish to do no harm, to cultivate goodwill, to release unwholesome habits. This is the next step on the path, the natural flowering of right view. A faint smile touches his lips as he continues forward, guiding you deeper into the tranquil night. Come, he says with gentle certainty. Let us explore how the intention of the heart shapes every step we take. The forest grows quieter as you and the Buddha continue along the moonlit path, the night deepening into a calm, velvety darkness. Crickets hum softly in the distance, their gentle chorus weaving through the stillness like a lullaby for the world. The Buddha walks with a serene steadiness, and though the forest is dim, it feels as though a soft radiance surrounds him, subtle, warm and guiding. When he begins to speak again, his voice blends with the night air, smooth and unhurried. When the mind sees clearly, he says, the heart begins to soften, and from that softening arises right intention, the willingness to turn toward kindness, toward harmlessness, toward letting go. His words settle into you like warm embers, quiet and comforting. Right intention is the gentle bending of the heart toward what brings peace. You walk a little closer, sensing that this teaching comes not from distant thought, but from a well of compassion that lives naturally within him. The Buddha glances at you with a warm expression. Every action, he continues, is born from an intention. Even the smallest movement, the softest word, the faintest thought has a seed within it. If the seed is rooted in craving or ill will, the fruit will be suffering. But if the seed is rooted in kindness, the fruit will be peace. Ahead, the path widens to reveal a small clearing. Fireflies drift lazily through the air, their lights pulsing softly like tiny heartbeats. The Buddha stops at the edge of the clearing and gestures toward the glowing insects. Intentions, he says, are like these small lights. They may seem faint at first, barely noticeable, but when many arise, they illuminate the entire path. You observe the fireflies, their dance gentle and unforced. Each flicker seems to echo the warmth in the Buddha's words. Goodwill, he says, is the first of these lights. It is the intention to respond to the world with a heart free from anger, not by denying difficulty, but by refusing to add more harm to it. He sits upon a smooth stone, inviting you to rest beside him. The ground is cool beneath you, grounding and steady. Goodwill does not ask you to feel joy for all beings immediately, he continues softly. It begins with the simple wish, may no harm come from my heart. Even this small intention can transform the mind. It softens the edges of resentment, loosens the knots of irritation, and brings warmth to places that have grown cold. You close your eyes for a moment, letting his words rest in you. The idea feels gentle, not a demand, not a command, but an opening, an invitation to breathe differently. The Buddha lifts his hand slightly, letting a firefly land upon his fingertip. It glows softly, then drifts away. The second intention is harmlessness, he says. When we understand the suffering that craving and clinging create, we naturally develop compassion for ourselves and others. From this compassion comes the desire not to cause harm, not through action, not through speech, not through thought. This intention protects the heart from harshness. He looks toward the trees, their leaves shimmering slightly in the breeze. Harmlessness is not weakness, he adds. It is strength, born from understanding. It is choosing peace, even when anger tempts the heart. It is resting in clarity, rather than reacting from confusion. A deep sense of tranquility washes over you. It becomes clearer now how right view naturally leads into right intention, how understanding the world gently shapes the way you move within it. Finally, the Buddha speaks of the third intention, his voice softening even further. Letting go, he says. This does not mean abandoning life or withdrawing from the world. It means releasing the grip of expectations, loosening the hold of craving, freeing the heart from the endless weight of must and should. Letting go allows the mind to breathe. He rises slowly, and you follow, feeling renewed. A heart that lets go is like a bird freed from a cage, he says. It moves through the sky with ease. It does not cling to one branch or fear another. It simply flies. The path ahead glimmers faintly beneath the moonlight, as though welcoming the next steps. The Buddha's robe sways gently as he walks, the soft rustle blending with the forest's quiet rhythm. When these intentions are cultivated, he says, they shape every part of your life. They guide your actions, your thoughts, your words. They help the heart remain calm even in difficulty. You walk beside him, feeling the quiet shift in your own mind, a tender leaning toward goodwill, harmlessness, and release. The Buddha notices this and smiles gently. When the heart aligns with wholesome intentions, he says, peace becomes easier to find. And as peace grows within you, it begins to shine outward, touching others through the way you live. The night air grows stiller, and the sound of a distant stream reaches your ears like a soft melody. The Buddha's steps, slow as he gazes ahead down the moonlit path. And now, he says with quiet warmth, let us explore how this softened heart expresses itself through the way we speak to the world. He continues forward, guiding you gently toward the next teaching, where intention begins to shape the voice. The moonlight follows you both as you walk deeper into the forest, threading its silver glow across branches and stones like a gentle path laid out just for this moment. The night is quiet, softened by the hush of leaves brushing lightly against each other with every breath of wind. The Buddha moves with unbroken calm, his presence as steady as a lantern, guiding you through a serene dream. When he begins to speak again, his voice is gentle and low, so soothing that it blends into the forest sounds as though the earth itself is teaching through him. Once the heart is shaped by wholesome intention, he says softly, it begins to express itself through speech. Words are more powerful than most understand. They can lift a weary spirit or deepen suffering. They can bring peace or stir unrest. To walk the path wisely, one must learn to speak with care. You listen closely, sensing how deeply he values this teaching. The Buddha lifts his hand slightly, gesturing toward a small pool beside the path. Its surface is still and luminous beneath the moon, like a mirror laid upon the earth. Come, he says gently, look closely. You kneel beside the water. The Buddha picks up a tiny pebble and drops it lightly into the pool. A single ripple spreads outward in circles, soft, expanding, far-reaching. This is how speech moves through the world, he explains. A single word may seem small, but its effects travel far beyond the moment of its speaking. Many forget this, and their words become careless, sharp, or restless. The pebble sinks, disappearing into the water's cool depths. The ripples, however, continue outward until the entire pool quivers with motion. When words are rooted in confusion or craving, he continues, they disturb the mind, your own and others. But when they come from clarity, kindness, and the intention to do no harm, they soothe and bring peace. You rise slowly, taking in the meaning of this simple demonstration. The Buddha begins to walk again, and you follow, feeling the cool, night air brush lightly against your skin. To speak wisely, he says, as you move along the path, is to honor 4 qualities. The first is truth. Words grounded in truth are steady and reliable. They do not deceive, distort, or manipulate. They do not cling to the urges of the ego. Truthful speech supports trust, and trust supports peace. His tone remains gentle, never stern. But truth alone is not enough, he adds. One may speak the truth harshly, causing harm. So the second quality is kindness, speaking with the intention to bring ease, understanding, or healing. You think of times when truth, spoken without kindness, created pain instead of clarity. The Buddha seems to sense this and offers a compassionate glance. When truth and kindness work together, he says, the heart listens more openly, and understanding becomes possible. The forest narrows into a corridor of tall trees, and your footsteps echo softly through the stillness. The Buddha's voice flows onward like a calm stream. The third quality, he says, is usefulness. Before speaking, one must ask, will these words bring benefit? Will they support peace or insight? Or will they add confusion, agitation, or harm? Speech without purpose scatters the mind. He pauses near a patch of moonlit wildflowers. Not all thoughts need to become words, he says with warm clarity. Silence itself is sometimes the most compassionate speech. The flowers sway gently, as if acknowledging the wisdom in this. The Buddha looks upward, toward the branches that frame the sky. The fourth quality is timing. Even words of truth and kindness may cause harm if spoken at the wrong moment. Wisdom knows when a heart is open to hearing, and when it is not yet ready. You breathe slowly, letting these teachings settle like soft petals in your awareness. Right speech, he continues, is not a rigid rule, but a practice of mindfulness. It is the recognition that every word carries energy that can heal or harm. When the heart is guided by goodwill and clarity, speech naturally becomes gentle, honest, and beneficial. A soft owl call echoes from somewhere above, the night folding peacefully around the sound. The Buddha's steps remain light and deliberate, each one offering a rhythm you instinctively fall into. When you speak with care, he says, You create harmony wherever you go. You plant seeds of peace through ordinary moments. And just as one kind word can ease the suffering of another, it also nurtures your own heart. He slows his pace, letting the night deepen around you both. In this way, right speech shapes not only relationships, but the entire path. For words become actions, and actions become habits. When speech is rooted in kindness and clarity, the steps that follow naturally flow with the same intention. Ahead, the path widens into a gentle slope, illuminated by a stretch of moonlight so soft it seems to glow from within the ground itself. The Buddha looks toward it with a serene expression. "Come," he says quietly. "Now that the heart speaks with wisdom, let us explore how it moves through the world with the same gentle care." The slope of the path opens into a soft meadow where moonlight rests, like a calm blessing over the grass. The air is cool and still, carrying only the faint rustle of night creatures moving gently through the underbrush. Each step you take feels quieter than the last, as though the earth has softened itself to support this deepening journey. The Buddha walks with unshakable ease, the hem of his robe brushing silently over the ground, his presence steady as a guiding star. When he speaks again, his voice carries the warmth of a lantern glowing in the dark. "When the heart speaks with truth and kindness," he says softly, "the body naturally follows. Right action is the embodiment of wise intention. It is living gently in the world so that your footsteps leave no harm behind." His words settle into the meadow like seeds falling into fertile soil. He pauses near a tall ancient tree whose trunk is wide and deeply rooted. Fireflies drift lazily around it, their small lights pulsing with unhurried rhythm. The Buddha rests his hand lightly upon the bark. "Just as this tree stands firm yet harms nothing," he continues, "so can your actions stand rooted in compassion. Strength does not require violence. Stability does not require domination. True strength is gentle, and its gentleness nourishes all it touches." You feel the quiet truth in this. How often action is mistaken for force. How often strength is confused with hardness. The Buddha's voice softens further, offering comfort to that misunderstanding. Right action asks only that you move through the world with awareness, he says. That you act in ways that support peace rather than disturb it. That you become a refuge for others, just as your own heart becomes a refuge for you. The two of you continue walking, and the meadow opens into a small clearing where a narrow stream winds through stones polished smooth by years of flowing water. The Buddha steps beside the stream and kneels, touching the water's surface with gentle fingertips. The ripples glimmer beneath the moonlight. "Harmlessness," he says, "is the first expression of right action. To refrain from harming others, human or animal, is to honor the shared fragility of life. Every being seeks safety. Every being seeks comfort. When your actions protect rather than endanger, you join the great harmony of compassion that moves through the world." He scoops a small amount of water in his hand, letting it spill slowly back into the stream. "All life flows together," he murmurs. "To harm one current is to disturb the whole river." You stand quietly beside him, letting the sound of flowing water soothe your breath. The idea of harmlessness settles into you like a calm tide, washing away impulses rooted in fear, anger, or haste. As the Buddha rises, he begins to walk again, guiding you toward a cluster of wildflowers glowing softly in the night. Their petals open toward the moon, each one a small gesture of trust. The second aspect of right action, he says, is to cultivate honesty and integrity in your deeds. When you act with sincerity, your life becomes clear. Your presence becomes steady. You no longer need to hide behind excuses or fear being seen. He lifts one of the wildflowers gently between his fingers. Honest action is like this blossom, he says. Simple, unforced, beautiful because it is true. He sets the flower back among its companions and continues walking. The air grows cooler, and the night deepens into a serene quiet that seems to welcome the next teaching. The third aspect, he continues, is to respect what belongs to others. Not only physical possessions, but also their peace, their dignity, their boundaries, their joy. When you take what is not yours, even subtly, you plant seeds of imbalance. But when you honor the space of others, you create trust wherever you go. His steps slow as you once again approach the forest's edge. The trees stand tall, forming an archway of branches overhead. Right action, he says, is not a set of rules meant to confine you. It is a way of moving through the world that frees you from regret, frees you from causing pain, frees you from the burden of unwholesome deeds. It is the living expression of a heart aligned with compassion. You walk beneath the arching branches, feeling them almost like silent guardians watching over your steps. The Buddha's presence beside you feels especially steady now, grounding and luminous. When your actions are rooted in kindness, he says quietly, you do not need to force peace upon the world. Peace radiates naturally from you. And as your actions become gentle, the world responds in gentleness. A soft breeze moves through the trees, carrying the scent of damp leaves and the distant sweetness of blooming night flowers. The Buddha inhales deeply, then exhales with serene ease. From the clarity of your actions, he says, another aspect of the path naturally forms. How you sustain yourself in the world, how you earn your livelihood, how your daily responsibilities become extensions of your compassion. He looks warmly toward the winding trail ahead, its surface illuminated by delicate strands of moonlight. With a calm step forward, he invites you to walk beside him once more, ready to learn how the work you choose and the tasks you perform each day become reflections of the peace you cultivate within. The path bends gently toward a cluster of tall bamboo, their slender stalks swaying in the moonlit breeze like living instruments played by the night. Each hollow stem creaks softly as the wind moves through them, producing a slow, calming rhythm. The Buddha walks between the bamboo with the same quiet ease he has carried through the entire journey. Every step aligned with purpose, yet free from any hint of strain. As you follow him into this peaceful grove, you feel the subtle shift in the air, an invitation to reflect on the way you move through your days, on the choices you make to sustain your life. The Buddha's voice is soft but steady when he begins to speak. How we earn our living, he says, shapes the heart more than most realize. Each act, each task, each decision is a seed planted in the soil of the mind. If the seeds are harmful, the mind grows restless and troubled. If the seeds are wholesome, the mind grows peaceful and steady. He pauses, letting the sound of the bamboo fill the quiet. Their rhythmic swaying feels like a natural echo of his teaching. Right livelihood, he continues, is choosing ways of living that support peace rather than disturb it. It is sustaining oneself without causing harm to others, through exploitation, dishonesty, violence, or deceit. You walk beside him, considering the many forms livelihood can take, the countless decisions that shape your journey without you even noticing. The Buddha senses your reflection and smiles gently. Work is not merely a means to survive, he says. It is a field in which your intentions grow. When your actions arise from care, your work becomes a practice of compassion. When they arise from greed or disregard, the heart becomes tangled and heavy. The bamboo canopy opens above you, revealing a clear patch of sky where the moon hangs luminous and still. The Buddha stops for a moment, gazing upward. Many believe that spiritual practice happens only in quiet moments, he says. They separate their work from their path, as though the heart knows two ways of living. But the heart does not divide so easily. Every task, however simple or demanding, shapes your inner world. He walks slowly toward a fallen bamboo stalk resting upon the ground. Its surface is smooth, pale, and cool. The Buddha gently places his hand upon it. Right livelihood does not require perfection, he says. It asks only that your work not violate the well-being of others, that you refrain from actions that cause pain or fuel suffering. In doing so, you allow your livelihood to become an extension of your kindness. He steps over the fallen stalk and continues deeper into the grove. You follow, noticing how the bamboo seems to glow faintly in the moonlight, as if lit from within. There are some forms of work, he says softly, that poison the mind, through deception, through violence, through taking advantage of vulnerability. When one engages in such actions, the heart contracts. Even rest feels uneasy. His tone remains calm, never condemning, only clear. But when one chooses work rooted in respect, honesty, and care, the heart blossoms. Effort feels lighter. Rest feels deeper. Life becomes an opportunity for goodwill rather than conflict. You walk together until the bamboo gives way to a wider clearing, where low grasses ripple like quiet waves beneath the moon. The Buddha turns toward you fully now, his expression warm and grounded. Right livelihood, he says, is not about wealth or status. It is about harmony. When your work aligns with compassion, the heart no longer carries the weight of regret. It moves through the world freely. A subtle wind brushes past you, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and distant blossoms. The Buddha continues walking, and you feel your steps grow lighter, as though the idea of living without causing harm has begun to settle into your bones. When work supports peace, he says gently, it strengthens your ability to walk the path. Each day becomes part of the practice. Each moment becomes an opportunity to cultivate clarity. In this way, livelihood becomes a quiet offering to the world. His words linger in the air like soft lantern light. You sense the quiet truth in them, the way kindness in daily tasks can ripple outward, touching lives you may never know, easing burdens you may never see. The Buddha lifts his gaze toward the path stretching ahead. When your livelihood is gentle, he says, you begin to cultivate another quality, one that strengthens the heart even further. The effort you bring to your days becomes steadier, more intentional, more attuned to wisdom. He resumes walking, his steps unhurried and peaceful. The forest ahead grows darker, though not in a way that invites fear, rather in the way of deepening quiet, deepening presence. Come, he says softly, his voice carrying a calm that settles into your breath. Let us explore the kind of effort that nourishes the mind and leads it toward awakening. The forest deepens around you once more, its shadows soft rather than dark, its quiet filled with a subtle warmth that seems to accompany every step you take beside the Buddha. The moon has shifted slightly in the sky, casting long silver beams through the trees like pathways of light guiding your journey. The earth beneath your feet feels cool and steady, and the air is rich with the scent of moss and night flowers. As you walk, you notice how the rhythm of your steps has begun to align with your breath, slow, balanced, unforced. The Buddha moves with a calm so natural, it seems inseparable from the world around him. When he speaks, his voice is gentle, carrying the softness of a flame that burns steadily without flicker. Effort, he says, is often misunderstood. Many believe it must be forceful, demanding, or harsh. But the effort that leads to peace is like a lamp that burns quietly throughout the night, bright enough to guide, soft enough to comfort. You listen closely, feeling the meaning of his words begin to settle into the quietness of your mind. Right effort, he continues, is the practice of nurturing the mind. It is not striving with tension, but tending with care. Just as a gardener protects, nurtures, and guides the growth of his plants, you must care for the thoughts and states that arise within you. The path leads into a glade illuminated by clusters of small white blossoms, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Their delicate petals seem almost translucent, shimmering softly each time the breeze glides past them. The Buddha stops beside the flowers, letting his gaze rest upon them with quiet appreciation. There are 4 kinds of effort that support the heart, he says. The first is the effort to prevent unwholesome states from arising. This is like placing a gentle fence around a young seedling, not to imprison it, but to protect it from harm while it grows. He kneels and touches one of the flowers lightly, careful not to disturb its petals. When you sense anger, resentment, greed, or confusion beginning to form, you gently guide the mind away from them. Not with force, not with fear, but with understanding. Prevention is an act of compassion for oneself. You take in this image, the delicate flower, the protective intention, and feel the wisdom of it resonate quietly within you. The second effort, he says as he rises, is to abandon unwholesome states once they have appeared. He steps toward the center of the glade, and you follow, hearing the soft rustle of grass beneath your feet. Even the most dedicated gardener cannot prevent every weed from sprouting, but when one appears, he removes it with patience, not anger. The Buddha looks toward you with kindness. When a harmful thought arises, envy, fear, ill will, you do not judge yourself for its presence. You simply release it, knowing the mind need not cling to what causes suffering. You feel relief in this teaching, the release of old pressure to fix or fight your inner world. The Buddha seems to sense this softening and continues walking through the glade. The third effort, he says, is to cultivate wholesome states that have not yet arisen. These are seeds waiting to be planted. Joy, compassion, patience, generosity. You invite them into the mind gently, like welcoming a guest. The night breeze stirs again, and the blossoms sway as though bowing to this truth. You imagine planting small seeds of kindness within yourself, letting them take root in the quiet spaces of your awareness. And the fourth effort, he continues, is to maintain and strengthen wholesome states that are already present. When the heart is calm, you nourish that calm. When the mind is clear, you protect that clarity. When kindness begins to bloom, you allow it to spread. His words drift through the glade like soft music, soothing and grounding. The idea of caring for your inner world in this gentle, ongoing way feels comforting, like tending a fire that warms the soul. Effort is not struggle, the Buddha says, his voice deepening with gentle emphasis. It is care, it is devotion. It is the steady choice to turn the mind toward what brings peace. You continue walking with him as the glade narrows into a quiet corridor of trees. Their branches arch overhead, forming a canopy that sways in time with your breath. The Buddha's presence feels even more serene now, as though his teachings have opened a space within the night for deeper clarity to blossom. When effort is balanced, he says, there is no exhaustion, only steadiness, only the quiet commitment of a heart that wishes to grow. You feel your own steps becoming steadier, your breath gentler, your awareness clearer. Something within you feels illuminated, softly, like a candle flame that has just found the right amount of air. The Buddha looks ahead into the dimming forest, where the light shifts into an even deeper stillness. As the mind becomes cared for and steadied through right effort, he says with warm certainty, it grows ready to rest in the present moment with unshakable clarity. He takes a calm, deliberate step forward. Come, he says softly. Now let us walk into the heart of awareness itself. The forest grows even quieter as you walk with the Buddha, the night softening into a deep, velvety calm that seems to cradle every sound. The moon above glows like a serene guardian, its pale light pouring through the branches in long, silvery beams. Your footsteps fall into a natural rhythm, unhurried and steady, as though your body has begun to move in harmony with the breath of the world. The Buddha walks beside you with effortless ease, his presence radiating the kind of peace that needs no words to be understood. After a few moments of silence, he slows and turns slightly toward you. His voice flows gently through the stillness, warm and steady. Right mindfulness, he says softly, is the art of being fully here. It is the practice of resting in each breathing moment, aware yet unburdened, awake yet at ease. Mindfulness is the anchor that steadies the heart. He leads you to a small clearing where the moonlight gathers in a soft pool of pale glow. A fallen log rests at the clearing's edge, its surface covered in a smooth layer of moss. The Buddha sits upon it, and with a subtle gesture, invites you to sit as well. You settle beside him, feeling the quiet of the night wrap around you like a warm shawl. Begin with the breath, he says. The breath asks for nothing. It arrives on its own, departs on its own, and yet it offers a doorway to understanding. He closes his eyes briefly. Feel the coolness of the inhale. Feel the warmth of the exhale. Do not force it. Do not follow it with effort. Simply rest with it. You breathe in softly, noticing the subtle expansion in your chest, the gentle rise of your shoulders. The Buddha continues, mindfulness is not a narrow focus. It is a spacious knowing, a relaxed awareness of what is happening, whether pleasant or unpleasant, peaceful or restless. It does not judge. It does not cling. It simply observes with kindness. A faint breeze stirs the grass, and you hear its soft, whispering movement. You feel the breath flow through you again, and the Buddha's voice seems to arise in perfect time with it. Just as the moon reflects on the surface of a still pond, the mind reflects clearly when it is undisturbed. Mindfulness stills the surface, and in this stillness, the truth becomes visible. The Buddha reaches down and picks up a small leaf resting near his feet. He holds it gently in the moonlight. This leaf, he says, exists only in this moment. It does not cling to its past on the branch. It does not fear the earth it will return to. It rests fully where it is, accepting the nature of its path. He places the leaf back on the earth. Mindfulness teaches us to rest just as simply. You feel tension loosen gently inside you, like a knot beginning to dissolve. The Buddha notices and continues. There are 4 foundations of mindfulness, he says. Awareness of the body, awareness of feelings, awareness of the mind, awareness of the nature of phenomena. Each is a resting place, a window through which the heart can learn to understand itself. He raises his hand and places it lightly over his heart. Begin with the body. Feel its weight, its warmth, its quiet pulse. The body anchors you to the present. Every breath, every sensation is an invitation to return home. He then speaks of feelings. Feelings arise like small waves upon the water, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Mindfulness observes them without chasing or resisting them. When feelings are held gently, they pass on their own. You watch as he cups his hands briefly, as though holding a small invisible wave. Then he opens them, releasing it to the air. Next, he turns to the mind. The mind moves like the sky, clouds of thought drifting in and out. Mindfulness does not push them away. It does not cling to them. It simply sees them as passing formations, no more solid than mist. Finally, he speaks of phenomena. All things arise and pass away. When you observe this directly, not as a belief, but as a lived experience, the heart begins to loosen its grip on everything that causes suffering. He stands, and you rise with him. The clearing feels even more peaceful now, as though mindfulness itself has settled upon the space. You breathe in deeply, and for the first time you feel the breath, not as something you do, but as something happening naturally within you, like wind moving through the forest, like water flowing down a gentle stream. The Buddha begins walking again, and you follow, your awareness softened yet steady. When mindfulness deepens, he says, the mind becomes calm, focused and clear. It no longer drifts with every passing thought. It becomes collected, like a lake undisturbed by wind. Ahead, the forest path begins to narrow into a corridor of deeper shadow, though the Buddha's presence keeps it luminous and welcoming. His voice grows even more soothing now, carrying a quiet certainty. A mind anchored in mindfulness, he says, is ready to enter deeper stillness, stable, centered, gathered. His steps become slow and meditative, the rhythm of his movement reflecting the serenity of inner concentration. Come, he says gently, guiding you toward the deeper hush of the forest. Let us explore the calm lake of the mind. The forest narrows into a quiet corridor, where the trees arch overhead like a vaulted sanctuary, their branches woven together in soft patterns of moonlit shadow. The air grows still, not empty but full of a hushed expectancy, as though the world itself is holding its breath. Each step you take feels deeper, more deliberate, as if your feet are sinking gently into the very essence of the present moment. The Buddha walks ahead with serene composure, his movements unbroken, his presence like a beacon guiding you inward. After a while, he pauses beside a small lake nestled within the trees. Its surface glows beneath the moon like polished silver, so smooth and silent that it seems untouched by even the faintest breeze. The Buddha gestures toward the lake with a soft sweep of his hand. This, he says quietly, is what the mind becomes when it rests in right concentration. A stillness so deep that clarity shines through effortlessly. You step closer to the water's edge. The lake is so calm that it mirrors the sky perfectly. Every star, every curve of the moon, every subtle shade of night reflected without distortion. The Buddha kneels by the shore, letting his fingers hover just above the surface. Most minds, he says, are like lakes troubled by wind. Thoughts stir the surface, emotions create waves, restlessness moves through it like storms. But when concentration deepens, these winds settle, the surface grows smooth. Reflection becomes possible. He dips one fingertip lightly into the water. Ripples bloom outward, but quickly fade into stillness once more. Right concentration is not suppression, he explains gently. It is the calming of the winds. It is allowing the mind to gather itself, to become unified, steady, peaceful. In such stillness, wisdom arises naturally. You lower yourself to sit beside the Buddha, feeling the cool earth beneath you, the soft hum of the night surrounding you like a gentle embrace. He closes his eyes briefly, and the serene presence that radiates from him seems to deepen even further. When the mind is concentrated, he continues, it enters states of profound ease, absorptions, in which the usual chatter falls silent, and the heart tastes a joy untouched by circumstance. He lifts his gaze to the moon reflected in the water. Imagine looking into a lake during a storm, he says. The image is broken, restless, unclear. Such is the mind when scattered. But when the lake becomes still, you see the moon exactly as it is, bright, calm, unwavering. You breathe slowly, sensing your own mind beginning to settle. The night air feels lighter on your skin, the sounds softer, the stillness fuller. The Buddha's voice blends with this quiet, drawing you deeper inward. Concentration is the natural fruit of mindfulness, he says. When awareness rests gently on the breath, the body softens. When awareness observes thoughts without grasping, they drift away. And when awareness turns inward without force, steadiness blossoms on its own. He continues walking around the shore of the lake, and you follow at an easy pace. The reflection of the moon moves with you, yet never breaks. In the first stages of concentration, he says, the mind becomes quieter, more unified. Joy arises. Not the joy of excitement, but the joy of relief. Relief from restlessness. Relief from the constant pull of desire and aversion. Relief from the ceaseless movement of thought. He steps onto a flat stone that juts slightly over the water, allowing the moonlight to bathe him in its soft glow. As concentration deepens further, he says, even joy becomes serene. The mind begins to rest in pure tranquility. Like a deep lake untouched by wind, its silence is profound, its clarity luminous. You feel the lake's stillness reaching into you, loosening small tensions you didn't realize were there. It feels as though the night is gently placing a hand upon your heart, calming it, slowing it, soothing it into spaciousness. Right concentration, the Buddha continues, is the art of dwelling fully in the present without distraction. It is the quiet doorway through which the deepest insights enter. For when the mind is calm, it sees without distortion. When the mind is peaceful, it understands without confusion. He steps back toward the shore and begins walking once more into the gentle darkness, the lake fading behind you as the forest path opens again. When you learn to steady the mind, he says, you discover a silence that is not empty, but vibrant. A silence that nourishes wisdom. A silence that allows the heart to awaken. The trees ahead grow sparser, revealing a stretch of trail illuminated by strands of moonlight that fall like guiding threads across the path. The Buddha's robe moves softly as he walks, each step measured, grounded, serene. In the still lake of concentration, he says gently, truth becomes visible, and seeing truth clearly is the beginning of deep wisdom. He looks ahead as if seeing something just beyond the next bend, something profound and quietly transformative. Come, he says, his voice filled with serene certainty. Now that the mind has grown still, let us walk deeper into understanding. The path opens into a clearing where the trees fall away like curtains parting to reveal a broader sky. The moon has dipped lower, softening its glow into a gentle silver haze that stretches across the canopy of stars. A stillness hangs in the air, deep, spacious, almost boundless, as though the night itself is breathing in quiet contemplation. The Buddha stands at the edge of the clearing, his gaze lifted toward the heavens, the faint shimmer of starlight reflecting in his calm eyes. Look up, priestess, he says softly. The sky is vast, and within it, clouds drift across without resistance. They form, change, dissolve, and appear again in new shapes. They never cling to what they once were, nor do they grasp at what they might become. You lift your eyes, even though the night holds no clouds, only endless stars. And yet, in his words, you can almost see them, drifting, shifting, passing effortlessly through the open sky. The Buddha's voice continues, smooth as wind moving through tall grass. All things in life behave like these clouds. They arise, change, and pass away. Thoughts, emotions, sensations, experiences, even the breath, each one appears for a moment and then dissolves into the next. He steps forward into the clearing, inviting you to walk beside him. The ground is soft beneath your feet, blanketed by layers of fallen leaves that hush your footsteps. Impermanence is not a curse, he says gently. It is the natural law of existence. Without it, nothing could grow. No lesson could be learned. No joy could be renewed. Impermanence allows each moment to be fresh. A faint breeze sweeps across the clearing, brushing cool night air across your skin. The sensation lasts only a heartbeat before fading, leaving a subtle memory in its wake. The Buddha turns his head slightly, noticing your awareness. Even this breeze, he says, is a teacher. It arises without your asking, touches you, and moves on. When we learn to meet all experiences as we meet this breeze, appreciating their presence, accepting their departure, freedom begins. You walk together until you reach a small rise where the land slopes gently upward. The Buddha climbs it with light steps, and at the top, you can see the forest stretching outward in all directions. The treetops move softly beneath the night wind, their motion rhythmic and unhurried. He stands still for a moment, letting the vastness of the view settle into both of you. Most suffering, he says, comes from clinging to what cannot stay or resisting what must change. We hold tightly to youth, to identity, to comfort, to certainty. We fear loss, though loss is woven into the fabric of existence. We resist change, though change is the very force that allows us to awaken. His voice is warm, never harsh, never demanding, just clear, like water running over smooth stones. But when the heart understands impermanence deeply, it begins to soften. It no longer grasps at passing moments. It no longer fears the shifting winds of life. Instead it opens, spacious and free. He lowers himself to sit upon the soft grass, and you join him. The night air around you feels alive with gentle movement. Close your eyes, he says. Feel your breath. Notice how each inhale arises, lingers for a moment, and dissolves. Notice how no single breath can be held. It must always give way to the next. You breathe in, feeling the coolness enter your body. You breathe out, feeling warmth leave. There is a rhythm, a flow, a natural dance of appearing and passing away. As you settle into this awareness, something within you begins to loosen, an interior grip long held without noticing. The Buddha speaks again, his tone even softer now. When you embrace impermanence, you begin to see that nothing is fixed, not your fears, not your sorrow, not your past. Everything changes. Understanding this brings compassion. It allows you to forgive yourself, to forgive others, to release expectations and regrets. He opens his eyes and gazes toward the horizon, where the first hints of dawn are beginning to form, barely perceptible but present. Impermanence shows you that everything flows. And in this flow, there is a quiet beauty, a freedom that comes from not trying to hold the sky still. The stars overhead shimmer faintly, as though acknowledging the truth of these words. You feel a gentle calm expanding through you, a sense that nothing needs to be grasped or controlled. Life moves, and you can move with it. The Buddha rises slowly, the soft glow of early morning touching the edges of his figure. When the truth of impermanence is understood, he says, you begin to see something even more subtle. For if all things change, if all things arise and pass without fixed essence, then what we call self is also fluid, shifting, open. He turns towards the path leading back into the quiet forest, his steps light as dawn approaches. Come, he says with serene clarity. Let us look into the nature of self and see what lies beyond the illusion of permanence. The forest path narrows once more as you walk with the Buddha, the air shifting softly as the night deepens into the final hours before dawn. A faint glow touches the eastern horizon, subtle, pale, hinting at the first quiet promise of morning. The Buddha's steps are slow and unhurried, as though he is guiding you not only through the forest, but through the inner landscape of your own understanding. When he speaks, his voice carries a gentleness that feels both grounding and expansive. You have seen how all things arise and pass, he says softly. Now let us look at the one who witnesses these changes. the one you believe yourself to be. This self that feels so solid, so enduring, so separate. He leads you toward a small clearing where a single lantern rests upon a smooth stone. The flame inside flickers gently, casting a warm golden glow on the Buddha's calm features. He kneels beside the lantern and gestures for you to sit across from him. As you settle, the flame sways slightly, responding to the quiet movement of your breath. Observe this flame, he says. It burns brightly, but is it one single thing? Or is it a moment-to-moment process? Air, heat, movement, fuel, coming together in continuous change? You watch closely. The flame leaps, settles, elongates, shrinks. No shape remains. No form persists. It is alive only because of conditions constantly supporting it. The self, the Buddha continues, is like this flame. It appears steady. It feels singular. But it is not a fixed entity. It is a stream of countless moments, sensations, thoughts, perceptions, intentions, arising and fading, arising and fading. No single moment can be called you. His tone is tender, filled with reassurance rather than challenge. You feel no fear, only curiosity, as though he is gently peeling away a veil that has been resting over your eyes. Consider the body, he says. Cells dying and forming every moment, breath moving in and out, blood flowing, muscles shifting. Nothing stays the same. The body you had as a child is not the body you have now. Yet you say, "This is mine." But what is mine when everything is changing? You feel the truth of this, not as an idea, but as a quiet realization spreading through your awareness. He continues as the lantern flame flickers between you. And the mind? Thoughts arise without invitation. Emotions swell and fade. Memories drift in like clouds, disappear, and return in different shapes. If these are constantly shifting, can they truly define a permanent self? He looks directly into your eyes, his expression kind and steady. There is no unchanging core within you, not a solid I that stands apart from experience. What you call self is a flowing process, a dance of conditions, just as the flame depends on wick, wax, heat, and air. A gentle breeze flows through the clearing. The flame leans with it, then settles again. The Buddha lifts the lantern carefully, holding it between you both. And yet, he says, this truth is not meant to unsettle you. It is meant to free you. Because when there is no fixed self, there is nothing to cling to, nothing to defend, nothing to fear losing. He sets the lantern back on the stone. Imagine carrying a heavy burden because you believe it is part of who you are. Anger, regret, pride, sorrow, these cling tightly when you believe they belong to a solid self. But when you see they arise only from conditions, you can release them gently, as you would set down a stone. You notice how light your chest feels, how subtly a sense of spaciousness has begun to bloom inside you. The Buddha rises and begins to walk again, and you follow, the lantern's warm glow fading behind you as the first hints of dawn color the edges of the sky. When you understand that the self is not fixed, he continues as you walk, compassion becomes natural. For you see that all beings struggle with the same illusions, the same shifting conditions, the same longing to be safe and at ease. He pauses beside a tall tree whose bark catches the faintest blush of early light. When there is no rigid I, there is no rigid other. The heart opens, it softens, it sees the interconnectedness of all life. The forest around you begins to stir, the faint call of an early bird, the whisper of leaves responding to morning air. The Buddha looks ahead, his eyes serene, his presence radiant with warmth. And from this understanding, he says gently, Compassion arises not from obligation, but from recognition, from seeing yourself in all beings, and all beings in yourself. He takes a slow step forward, guiding you toward the soft glow of the approaching dawn. Come, he says with quiet certainty. Let us walk into the heart of compassion. The early light of dawn spreads gently through the forest like a soft veil, touching every branch and leaf with a delicate glow. The night's deep stillness begins to lift, replaced by the quiet hum of awakening life. You walk beside the Buddha as the world slowly brightens, colors emerging from the darkness in tender hues. His presence feels even warmer in the morning air, as though compassion itself is rising with the sun. When he speaks, his voice carries the gentle calm of someone who has seen the suffering of the world and responded only with kindness. Compassion, he says softly, is the natural flowering of understanding. When you see that all beings walk through life touched by impermanence, shaped by conditions, and bound by the illusion of a separate self, the heart cannot help but soften. Compassion is not a task. It is a response, gentle, instinctive, sincere. A faint breeze stirs the tall grasses ahead, and the Buddha steps into the open meadow where the morning light gathers like warm water. Dew sparkles across the ground, tiny crystals catching the sun's first rays. He pauses, allowing you to take in the beauty of this simple moment. Just as dew forms effortlessly on grass, he continues, compassion arises effortlessly when the mind sees clearly. It is not forced. It does not demand. It moves naturally, like water flowing downhill. His eyes soften. To live with compassion is to recognize the shared tender vulnerability of all beings. You walk slowly beside him through the meadow. Birds begin their morning melodies, each note a gentle reminder that life blooms in countless forms, each carrying its own joys and sorrows. Think of the beings you know, the Buddha says. Some carry visible burdens, pain, fear, loneliness. Others carry burdens unseen, yet each one longs for peace, safety, and kindness. This longing unites us. He stops beside a cluster of wildflowers, just beginning to open. Their petals are fragile, trembling slightly in the morning breeze. He kneels, touching one lightly. Compassion is the wish to ease this shared vulnerability. It is the willingness to hold the world with gentle hands, to meet pain not with fear or judgment, but with understanding. The flower glows softly under his touch, and you feel something similar blooming inside your chest, a warmth, a tenderness that has been growing quietly through the journey. Compassion does not require you to fix every hurt, and he says. It asks only that you remain open, that you let kindness guide your actions. Small gestures, a gentle look, a patient silence, a forgiving heart, can ease suffering more than you realize. You continue walking, the meadow giving way to a narrow path, shaded by trees whose leaves shimmer with the rising sun. When you understand suffering, the Buddha says, you no longer see others as obstacles or threats. You see their fragility. You see your own reflected in theirs. Compassion becomes a way of being, not an occasional choice. His tone remains soothing, never urging, simply offering truth in the softest way. Even when someone acts with anger or ignorance, he says, you can recognize that beneath their behavior lies confusion, fear, or old wounds. This does not excuse unskillful actions, but it helps you respond without hatred. The trees around you sway gently as though listening, their leaves whispering with the morning breeze. You sense how compassion expands the heart, how it allows space for others without losing your own center. The Buddha senses your growing understanding and speaks again, his voice warm. Compassion also includes yourself, he says. Many forget this. They offer kindness to others, but deny it to their own hearts. But you too are a being shaped by impermanence, touched by confusion, yearning for peace. Without compassion for yourself, the heart cannot fully open. He stops beneath a tree, whose branches form a natural archway overhead. Light filters through the leaves, scattering soft patterns across the ground. Imagine holding a small injured bird, he says. You would cradle it with great care. Offer the same care to your own wounds, your own confusion, your own longing. A quiet peace settles around you as his words sink deeper. You feel as though the forest itself is echoing the teaching, every breeze a breath of kindness, every ray of sunlight a reminder of the warmth compassion brings. When compassion becomes the way you walk, the Buddha says, your presence becomes a refuge. Others feel safe near you, not because you solve their problems, but because your heart does not judge them. He begins to walk again, guiding you through the arch of branches. Compassion does not end with understanding suffering, he says with serene clarity. It also grows into an active, radiant force, the wish for all beings to be well, to be peaceful, to be free. The sunlight brightens the path ahead, casting long golden lines through the forest. Now, he says, let us explore how compassion unfolds into loving kindness, the gentle wish that all beings know happiness and ease. The forest path brightens as the sun continues its gentle ascent, spreading golden warmth through the trees. Light pools softly around your feet, casting long delicate shadows that sway with each movement. The world feels newly washed, as though dawn has brushed every leaf with tenderness. You walk beside the Buddha, and the air around him seems to shimmer with quiet warmth, not unlike the rising sun itself. When he speaks, his voice flows with a softness that feels like comfort made into sound. Loving kindness, he says gently, is the heart's natural radiance. When compassion understands suffering, loving kindness responds with the simple wish, may you be happy, may you be safe, may you live with ease. It is the warm light that pours from a heart free of ill will. A small bird lands on a nearby branch, its feathers catching the sunlight in shimmering tones. The Buddha pauses and observes it with serene attention. See how easily this small being greets the day, he says softly. It seeks nothing but safety, warmth, and the freedom to fly. All beings share this longing. Loving kindness honors that shared wish. You feel the quiet truth of this, the ancient and universal desire for peace. The Buddha continues walking, guiding you into a clearing where the sunlight falls in a broad circle, illuminating wildflowers just beginning to bloom. Their petals unfold slowly, gently, as though responding to invisible encouragement. Loving kindness begins with oneself, he says, for a heart closed to its own well-being cannot truly open to others. Sit for a moment and breathe with kindness. You lower yourself to the soft earth. The Buddha sits beside you, his posture relaxed, his hands resting lightly in his lap. Bring to mind your own being, he says, not as you believe you should be, not as you fear you are, but simply as you are in this moment, breathing, feeling, longing for peace. You breathe in slowly. The air fills your chest with warmth. Now, he says, offer yourself the simplest of blessings. May I be at ease. May I be safe. May I be well. The words resonate quietly in your heart, not forced, not grand, just a gentle intention, like a hand resting over your own. Loving kindness, he continues, is not emotion. It is intention. Even when the heart feels tired or uncertain, the intention to wish yourself well begins to soften the tight places within. You breathe again, feeling something warm begin to spread in your chest. Subtle at first, then slowly growing, like embers glowing into warmth. When this warmth settles in your heart, the Buddha says, let it expand outward. The clearing brightens as sunlight continues to warm the ground. Start with someone you love, he says. Picture them quietly. See their smile, their burdens, their hopes, and silently offer, may you be happy, may you be safe, may you live with ease. A gentle breeze moves through the clearing, stirring the wildflowers. You imagine someone dear to you, and as you offer this silent blessing, you feel the warmth within you extend toward them, like a soft beam of light. Now, the Buddha says, extend kindness to someone neutral, someone you pass in life without much thought. Remember, their heart too holds joy and sorrow, fear and hope. His voice softens further. Offer them the same blessing, without distinction. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. The warmth in your heart expands again, surprising you with how easily kindness flows when given space to move. And now, he says, turning his eyes toward the horizon, extend this kindness to someone difficult, someone who troubles your mind. Not to condone their actions, not to invite them into your life, but to recognize that they too are shaped by suffering and confusion. His tone is gentle, protective. Offer them the wish for peace, not because they deserve it more than others, but because the heart deserves not to carry resentment. You breathe deeply, and the warmth within you flickers like a candle flame touched by wind, but it does not go out. Instead, it grows steadier, more resilient. When loving kindness becomes boundless, the Buddha says, it extends to all beings, those near, those far, those known, those unknown. Humans, animals, those born, and those yet to be born. All beings longing for ease. He lifts his hands slightly, palms open. Let your heart become a lamp that shines in all directions. You imagine this, warm light radiating outward, filling the forest, the hills, the rivers, the distant villages, the mountains, the oceans, touching every being with a gentle blessing. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings live with ease. Your heart feels vast, unhindered. The air around you seems filled with quiet warmth, as though the world itself is receiving your blessing with gratitude. The Buddha rises, and you rise with him. The clearing glows brighter, sunlight filtering through the trees like threads of gold. He looks ahead, his expression serene. When loving kindness fills the heart, he says, another quality rises beside it, steady, balanced, unshaken, a calm acceptance of all that arises. He begins to walk toward the deeper forest bathed in morning light. Come, he says softly. Let us explore the vastness of equanimity. The morning sunlight spreads gently across the forest floor as you and the Buddha continue your walk, its warmth settling over the earth like a soft golden blanket. Birds call from high branches, their melodies weaving through the stillness, and the air is crisp with the scent of moss warming in the early light. The world feels peaceful, balanced, neither too bright nor too dim, neither loud nor silent. The Buddha walks with a calm steadiness that seems perfectly matched to the quiet harmony around you. After several unhurried steps, he pauses beneath an ancient tree whose trunk rises thick and unwavering. Its roots extend deep into the ground, reaching far beneath the surface, anchoring it firmly against all winds. The Buddha rests a gentle palm upon its bark. Equanimity, he says softly, is a heart like this tree, deeply rooted, steady, and unmoved by passing storms. You place your hand on the tree as well, feeling its cool firmness beneath your fingertips. It does not shiver with the breeze, nor lean toward the sunlight. It simply is, present, grounded, balanced in all conditions. The Buddha's voice flows gently beside you. When joy arises, he says, the heart does not cling. When sorrow arises, the heart does not collapse. Equanimity is the evenness of mind that understands all things come and go, and thus nothing needs to be grasped or feared. He steps away from the tree and begins walking again, guiding you toward a small hill where the forest thins and the sky opens above. From this vantage point, the world stretches outward in rolling waves of green and gold. A breeze moves across the landscape, and the grasses below sway without resistance. Just as the grasses yield to the wind, the Buddha continues, an equanimous heart yields to the movements of life. It does not fight experience, nor does it drown in it. It receives everything with openness, letting each moment pass through without leaving deep scars. His words settle into you like warm sunlight, loosening tight places you didn't realize you were holding. You breathe in deeply, noticing how the air feels lighter, how your mind feels more spacious. Equanimity, he says, is not indifference. It does not mean turning away from the world or feeling nothing. Rather, it is the clarity that allows you to care fully without losing yourself in attachment. It is the wisdom that sees beyond momentary experience into the deeper flow of impermanence. You walk beside him down the hill, and the path curls back into a small glen where a stream flows gently over polished stones. The water glimmers in the sunlight, moving swiftly in some places, slowly in others, but always continuing forward. Watch the water, he says. It does not resist the rocks in its path, nor does it attach itself to the smooth stretches. It flows freely, adjusting to every shape without losing its essence. An equanimous mind moves like this, calm, adaptable, and free. You kneel beside the stream, noticing how the water divides around a stone, then merges on the other side without hesitation. There is no struggle in its movement, no resentment, no hesitation, only flow. Without equanimity, the Buddha says, the mind becomes entangled in every emotion, every thought. It chases pleasure, recoils from pain, clings to comfort, resists discomfort, and so it is constantly shaken. His voice softens even further. But when equanimity is cultivated, the heart rests. It sees the rising and falling of all things without being tossed about. This stillness is not coldness, it is peace. A bird swoops down to drink from the stream, then flutters away effortlessly. You watch it disappear into the forest canopy, feeling the quiet beauty of the scene settle into your breath. The Buddha turns toward you, his expression serene. Equanimity brings great freedom. With it, anger has no roots. Fear finds no purchase. Desire loosens its grip. The heart becomes vast, like the open sky, allowing clouds to pass through without disturbance. He lifts his gaze upward, as though inviting you to see that same vastness within yourself. When you no longer cling to what comes or fight what goes, he says, you begin to live with unshaken ease. Compassion grows deeper, wisdom grows brighter, and the heart becomes a refuge for all beings. You feel a quiet awakening inside, a gentle shift towards spaciousness, a softening of old reactions, a sense that your heart is learning to stand like the ancient tree, rooted, balanced, unafraid of storms. The Buddha begins walking again, his footsteps unhurried, guiding you along a path that glows in the brightening morning light. The warmth of the sun touches your shoulders, and the steady rhythm of your breath feels more harmonious than ever. As equanimity stabilizes the heart, he says, wisdom and compassion begin to merge. They are no longer separate qualities, but one radiant expression of understanding. He moves forward toward a grove where the light seems especially gentle, as though waiting to receive the next teaching. "Come," he says quietly. "Let us explore how wisdom deepens when compassion walks beside it." Morning sunlight settles across the forest path in warm golden layers as you continue walking beside the Buddha. The air carries a quiet freshness, the kind that awakens the senses without disturbing the calm within you. As the world brightens, the Buddha's pace remains slow and steady, his presence grounded like a mountain yet soft as silk. When he begins to speak, his words drift through the morning air with the ease of petals falling from a blossom. "Wisdom," he says gently, "does not live only in deep meditation or rare moments of insight. Its true purpose is to guide how you move through the ordinary rhythms of your life. Each action, each word, each choice becomes an opportunity to live with clarity and kindness." A squirrel darts across the path, pausing for a brief moment before climbing a tree. The Buddha watches it with a small smile. "Even in simple movements," he continues, "we can see wisdom. The squirrel takes only what it needs, moves lightly on the earth, and adapts effortlessly to each moment. It does not carry more than it can hold, nor does it worry about tomorrow's branches." You walk a little slower, absorbing the lesson woven into such a small scene. Wisdom, you realize, need not be grand or complicated. It can be as simple as moving gently, responding without haste, or taking only what truly serves the heart. "Consider your daily life," the Buddha says, as you follow him toward a patch of sunlight filtering through the trees. "Every moment holds a choice. Will you act from confusion or from awareness? From craving or from contentment? From fear or from understanding? Wisdom is the steady friend that helps you choose the path of peace." He kneels beside a flowering bush, lifting a single white blossom between his fingers. "When the mind is clear," he says, "you begin to see how small choices affect your well-being. You notice when certain actions tighten the heart, when certain words disturb the mind, when certain habits lead to regret. Wisdom does not shame you, it offers guidance, showing you how to walk more gently." He releases the blossom, letting it settle lightly back upon the bush. "Wisdom teaches you to pause," he continues. "Before speaking, you ask, is this necessary? Is it kind? Before acting, you consider, will this bring ease or harm? Before clinging to a thought, you reflect, is this true? Must I hold it?" This pause is not hesitation, it is care. As you walk, the forest path widens into a sunlit field where tall grasses sway like waves beneath the gentle breeze. In daily living, the Buddha says, wisdom shows you how to meet challenges with equanimity rather than reactivity. When confronted with anger, wisdom invites patience. When faced with loss, it offers perspective. When joy arises, it reminds you to savor without grasping. You feel a soft recognition unfold within you. Wisdom is not distant. It is already present, waiting for space to shine through. Think of the mind as a garden, the Buddha continues. Wisdom helps you care for it. You remove the weeds of unskillful thoughts, water the seeds of kindness, and give sunlight to the qualities you want to grow. Over time, your garden becomes a place of refuge, not only for yourself, but for others as well. As he steps forward, sunlight falls gently across his robe. Wisdom also guides how you use your time, he says. It teaches you to let go of what drains your energy, and to nourish what brings clarity. In this way, you learn to live simply, not through deprivation, but through understanding what truly matters. A breeze drifts past, carrying the scent of early blossoms. Wisdom recognizes the impermanence of each moment, he says softly, so it encourages you to be fully present. When you wash a dish, you simply wash. When you speak to a friend, you truly listen. When you eat, you taste. This presence transforms ordinary tasks into gentle meditations. You follow him toward the edge of the clearing where a small stream flows calmly, its waters catching reflections of the brightening sky. The Buddha watches the stream with a serene expression. Notice how the water flows, he says. It does not rush. It does not cling to any one shape. It simply moves with what is before it. When wisdom guides your daily actions, your life becomes like this stream, steady, responsive, unobstructed. The warmth of the morning deepens, and you feel a calm attentiveness settling through your limbs. Each breath feels clearer, each step more deliberate. Eventually, the Buddha says, wisdom becomes your inner compass. You no longer move through the world on habit alone. You move with awareness. You walk gently, speak gently, breathe gently. And this gentleness transforms everything it touches. His gaze softens as he looks ahead, where the forest gathers into another shaded path. Wisdom in daily living is not separate from the rest of the path, he says. It naturally leads you deeper into awareness, into the soft, steady rhythm of your breath. He steps toward the shaded path, coated with thin rays of golden morning light. Come, he says, his voice warm and grounding. Let us explore how conscious breathing becomes a doorway to deeper awakening. You follow the Buddha along a shaded path, where the canopy above filters sunlight into gentle strands of gold. The air is cooler here, wrapped in a soft stillness that invites you inward. The ground beneath your feet is covered in fallen leaves, each step creating a quiet rustle that seems to echo the steady rhythm of your breathing. The Buddha slows his pace, allowing you to walk beside him at a natural, unforced tempo. When he begins to speak, his voice carries the gentleness of a breeze moving across still water. The breath, he says softly, is the most faithful companion you will ever have. From your first moment to your last, it stays with you, constant, patient, unassuming. It asks for nothing, yet it gives life to everything you experience. You breathe in, noticing the coolness at the tip of your nose. You breathe out, feeling warmth drift into the quiet air. The Buddha observes your breath with a serene smile. The breath anchors you, he continues. It gathers the scattered mind and brings it home. When your thoughts rush ahead or drift into the past, the breath remains in the present, inviting you to return. The path widens into a peaceful glade filled with soft morning light. The Buddha motions for you to pause. He closes his eyes, and you mirror him, sensing the world become richer in the moment of stillness. Inhale, he murmurs. Feel the rise of your belly, the expansion of your chest, the subtle opening of your heart. Exhale, and feel the release, softening, letting go, allowing the body to return to ease. You breathe again and again. Each breath, a gentle tide washing through your awareness. With each cycle, your mind grows clearer, your thoughts quieter, your inner world more spacious. The breath does not demand that you control it, the Buddha says. It simply asks you to notice, rest, to let your awareness settle upon it as a bird settles upon a branch, lightly, without force. A small bird lands on a nearby twig at that very moment, its tiny body still except for the subtle rise and fall of its chest. The Buddha's eyes soften at the sight. See how it breathes, he says, unhurried, untroubled, present. You too can live this way once the mind learns to rest gently on the breath. He begins to walk slowly again, his steps aligned with his breathing, each movement steady, intentional, unbroken. You follow, sensing how easily your body adapts to the rhythm of mindful breathing. The path feels softer beneath your feet. The air feels clearer in your lungs. and your thoughts feel as though they have been placed in gentle order. The breath teaches balance, he says while walking. When the inhale grows tight, you learn to soften. When the exhale becomes shallow, you learn to release. When the mind wanders, the breath calls it back with kindness. A gentle hush falls over the forest as you walk in silence for several moments, your awareness resting lightly on the rising and falling of your breath. You feel your body relax, the muscles of your shoulders softening, your jaw loosening, even the spaces around your heart widening with ease. Mindful breathing, the Buddha continues, is not only for quiet moments. It can accompany you through joy and sorrow, effort and rest. It can steady you in fear, soothe you in anger, anchor you in uncertainty. The breath is always here, offering a path back to clarity. He steps onto a smooth stone beside a narrow brook. The water flows gently, small ripples catching flashes of sunlight. The Buddha gestures toward the stream. Just as this water moves continuously, he says, the breath flows without interruption. You cannot hold a single breath forever. Each one must be released. This is the nature of life itself, arising, abiding, passing away. You stand beside him, watching the water shimmer. Each new breath feels more alive, more intimate, as though it were speaking to you in a language beyond words. The Buddha begins to walk again, this time with even greater slowness, inviting you into a new kind of awareness. You match his pace instinctively, your breath steadying your steps. Walking with the breath, he says, connects the mind to the body, and the body to the earth. Each step becomes a gentle arrival. Each breath becomes a companion to movement. This is walking meditation. Breath and step moving as one. You take a step, then another, and with each one, your breath guides you, rising, falling, settling. The forest path seems to glow with a soft peacefulness as you walk. The Buddha's robe sways in gentle rhythm, perfectly attuned to the flow of mindful breathing. When breath and movement unite, he says, you enter a state of effortless presence. There is no rush, no strain, no wandering, only awareness, only the simplicity of being here. He steps forward into a sunlit trail, his voice soft but luminous. Come, he says, let us explore the practice of walking meditation more deeply. The forest path unfurls before you like a quiet invitation, its surface dappled with sunlight filtering softly through the leaves above. Each patch of light flickers gently as branches sway in the mild morning breeze. The Buddha walks ahead with calm, steady steps, neither rushed nor slow, simply aligned with the natural rhythm of the world around him. You follow, your breath still synchronized with your movements, your awareness resting lightly on the soles of your feet. There is a simplicity to this act of walking that feels cleansing, as if each step were brushing dust from the mind. Walking, the Buddha says in a voice as gentle as the wind through the trees, is not merely a way to move from one place to another. It is a practice in itself, a living meditation, a way to understand your body, your breath, your mind, and the world beneath your feet. He slows his pace so that you may walk side by side. The ground is soft, covered with moss and fallen leaves that cushion your steps, making each movement feel like a quiet whisper across the earth. Feel your foot lift, he murmurs. Feel it move through space. Feel it touch the ground. This simple awareness transforms an ordinary act into a moment of awakening. You notice how your heel meets the earth, how your weight shifts forward, how your other foot rises in response. The forest seems to glow with this new clarity, each sound sharper, each scent more vivid, each color more alive. Walking becomes not a task, but a gentle unfolding of presence. When you walk with awareness, the Buddha continues, you learn the nature of the mind, how it drifts, how it returns, how it can rest in this very moment without needing anything more. A pair of deer appear in the distance, moving with graceful quietness through a patch of tall grass. They pause, ears flicking toward you, then continue their slow journey deeper into the woods. The Buddha watches them with soft eyes. The deer do not hurry, he says. They walk in tune with their surroundings. To live with wisdom is to walk like this, unhurried, attentive, gentle. You breathe deeply, matching your steps to the calm rhythm of the forest. Each footstep feels like a small bow to the earth. Each breath, a soft acceptance of the moment. There is serenity in this simplicity, pure, uncluttered awareness. Walking meditation, the Buddha says, awakens gratitude. The earth beneath you supports your journey without asking anything in return. The air fills your lungs freely. The body carries you with quiet devotion. When you notice these things, the heart naturally softens. He guides you toward a narrow bridge of smooth wooden planks, stretched across a glistening stream. Water flows gently beneath it, catching the sunlight in shimmering ripples. As you step onto the bridge, the Buddha pauses and places his hand lightly on the railing. Listen, he says. You close your eyes. The sound of flowing water rises like a soft chant, steady, soothing, endless. Birds call from nearby branches. Leaves rustle. The air hums with the breath of the forest. The world feels full and quiet at the same time. Walking with awareness, the Buddha whispers, reveals the interconnectedness of all things. Each step influences the earth. Each breath connects you to the air. Each moment binds you gently to the life around you. You stand there for a few moments, letting the stream's song wash through your awareness like cool, flowing clarity. When you open your eyes, the Buddha is already stepping off the bridge, moving back onto the path. You do not need to retreat from life to practice mindfulness, he says. Every path you walk, whether through forest, village, or your own home, can become a spiritual journey. When you walk with presence, the heart knows peace, even in motion. He points toward a cluster of trees whose branches twist and curve in elegant shapes. Sunlight drapes across them in golden ribbons. Nature teaches without words, he says. It reveals truths through its stillness, its cycles, its grace. When you walk with open awareness, these teachings become clear. You continue walking with him into that golden-lit grove, and something within you feels lighter. The act of placing one foot before the other, something you have done countless times without thought, now feels sacred, like a prayer in motion. As the path curves gently to the right, the forest opens into a wider expanse, filled with wild grasses and scattered flowers swaying in the breeze. The air smells of pine and morning sunlight. The Buddha steps forward and looks out over the landscape with quiet appreciation. The world around you is a teacher, he says softly. Its beauty, its fragility, its constant change, all reflect the truths we have explored. When you learn to observe nature with the same presence you bring to your breath and your steps, deeper understanding arises. He motions for you to follow him into the open field, the grasses brushing softly against your legs. Come, he says, let us look closely at the lessons the natural world reveals. The field opens wide before you, stretching into a gentle sea of wild grasses that sway softly under the touch of the morning breeze. Each blade bends with fluid ease, never resisting, always adapting. The Buddha walks slowly into this openness, his steps light, his robe moving like a quiet ripple. The sun bathes everything in a warm, honey-colored glow, and the air feels charged with a subtle, vibrant stillness, as if the world itself is inviting you to listen more deeply. He pauses at the edge of the tall grass, letting his fingers brush lightly across the swaying blades. Nature is one of our greatest teachers, he says, his voice blending with the soft rustling around you. It reveals truth without speaking, shows wisdom without instruction, and demonstrates the path without demanding that we follow. You step closer, watching the grasses bend and rise with the rhythm of the wind. Their movement is soothing, free of struggle, effortlessly in harmony with the forces around them. Look at these grasses, the Buddha continues. They do not cling to stillness when the wind blows. They do not resist movement or wish to be unchanging. They simply respond. From them, we learn flexibility, acceptance, and the art of yielding without losing ourselves. His words settle into you like sunlight warming your skin. You take a slow breath and let your gaze stretch across the wide expanse of the meadow, feeling its openness reflected inside your chest. The Buddha begins walking again, guiding you toward a cluster of tall pine trees, rising like guardians at the far edge of the field. Their trunks stand straight and grounded, yet their branches dance lightly in the breeze. When he reaches the nearest pine, he rests his hand gently against its bark. Trees teach us stability, he says. They root deeply in the earth, drawing strength from what lies below. Yet they also reach upward toward the sky, trusting the space into which they grow. He taps the bark lightly. To live well, we must be like these trees, rooted in practice, yet willing to open, stretch, and grow toward the light. A bird flutters down from one of the branches and lands on a smooth stone nearby. It tilts its head, curious and unafraid, before taking flight again. The Buddha watches it disappear into the sky. And the birds, he says with a soft smile, they teach us freedom. They move with the winds, not against them. They rise and fall with ease, trusting the open sky to hold them. When the mind is free from clinging, it too can fly. You walk with him deeper into the trees, where the ground softens and the scent of pine grows richer. Soon you hear the sound of flowing water, a gentle, continuous murmur. When you reach the stream, the sunlight scatters across its surface in shimmering bands. Water, the Buddha says, crouching beside the stream, teaches us the wisdom of flow. It moves around obstacles rather than fighting them. It does not cling to the shape of the past moment. It responds to each new form with grace. He scoops a handful of water and lets it slip through his fingers, the droplets catching the light as they fall. This is how the mind becomes when it learns to let go. Clear, adaptable, capable of reflecting truth without distortion. You sit beside the stream, watching the water glide effortlessly over stones and fallen leaves. The Buddha settles next to you, allowing the silence to speak for a few breaths. The forest around you feels both vast and intimate, a living expression of the teachings he has been guiding you through. Nature shows us impermanence, he continues softly. Seasons shift, leaves fall, rivers carve new paths, clouds drift and dissolve. Nothing is fixed, nothing static. When we embrace this truth, suffering loosens its hold. A gentle breeze sweeps through the clearing, carrying the fragrance of pine and earth. You inhale deeply, feeling your breath move in harmony with the surrounding world. But nature also shows us compassion, the Buddha says. The earth supports without judgment. The sun warms without preference. The rain falls on all beings equally. In these quiet acts, we learn how to give without expectation. You absorb these words, sensing how effortlessly the natural world offers kindness, simply by being what it is. The Buddha rises slowly and gestures for you to continue walking with him along the stream's edge. When you look to nature, he says, you receive countless teachings on patience, on presence, on harmony, on surrender. But among its greatest lessons is this: nothing exists alone. Every tree depends on the soil. Every leaf depends on the sun. Every stream depends on the rain. All beings are woven into a great web of connection. You walk in silence for a few steps, feeling the truth of this interconnectedness in your own breath, your own heartbeat, your own place within the world. And just as nature teaches us interconnectedness, the Buddha says, as you both emerge from the trees back into the warming morning light, so too does your relationship with others reveal the heart's wisdom. He looks ahead toward a softly winding path leading deeper into the forest, a path that seems to shimmer with quiet possibility. Come, he says gently. Let us explore the teachings that arise from the bonds we share with one another. The forest path gradually widens into a gentle open space where sunlight settles in soft, glowing patches across the earth. Birds circle overhead, calling to one another in melodies that intertwine without conflict, each voice distinct, yet none overpowering the rest. You walk beside the Buddha as the breeze carries these harmonious sounds through the trees, and his expression reflects a deep appreciation for the effortless balance found in nature. Just as the forest thrives through interdependence, he says softly, so do human beings. No one lives alone, even if they walk a solitary path. Every word you speak, every action you take, every intention you carry, influences those around you. You take in the quiet truth of this, noticing how even the smallest insect or shifting leaf seems to contribute to the symphony of the morning. The Buddha pauses near a patch of soft grass and gestures for you to sit with him. To live peacefully with others, he says, is to cultivate harmony, not by expecting the world to behave as you wish, but by meeting others with patience, understanding, and a heart willing to listen. You settle beside him, feeling the warmth of the sunlight gently touch your shoulders. People are like rivers, he continues. Each one flows from different sources, shaped by different terrain. Some waters run clear, some clouded, some swift, some slow. When you understand this, you stop demanding that everyone move in the same way. The image settles gracefully into your mind, each person shaped by countless moments, joys, wounds, and hopes. The Buddha's voice remains calm and warm, offering no burden, only clarity. To live in peace with others, he says, you must first release the expectation that they should mirror your thoughts and feelings. Harmony arises not from sameness, but from respect. He picks up a fallen leaf, turning it gently between his fingers. Just as no two leaves are identical, no two minds carry the same understanding. When you meet someone with kindness, you give their understanding room to breathe. He sets the leaf down upon the grass, letting the breeze carry it lightly forward. Listening, he continues, is one of the deepest forms of peace. When you listen without preparing your reply, without defending your ground, without clinging to your view, you offer another the gift of being seen. You reflect on moments when you have spoken quickly, reacted hastily, or assumed you understood another before hearing them fully. The Buddha's words feel like a gentle realignment, guiding you back toward patience, presence, and empathy. Patience, he says, is love that has learned to breathe. When someone speaks harshly, they reveal their suffering. When someone acts with anger, they reveal their fear. When someone withdraws, they reveal their wounds. Meeting these moments with patience transforms conflict into understanding. He rises slowly, and you follow. The two of you walk across the open field, the grass bending softly beneath your feet. Peace with others does not mean avoiding disagreement, the Buddha says as he walks. It means engaging without hostility. It means recognizing that conflict arises not from malice, but from misunderstanding. When you respond with calm, you become a steady light in the midst of confusion. He stops at the edge of the field where a small stream runs, clear and gentle. Let your presence be like this water, he says, soft, steady, and refreshing. When others approach you, let them feel safe, safe to speak honestly, safe to express their fears, safe to be imperfect. You kneel and touch the surface of the stream. The water cools your fingertips, responding without resistance, simply offering what it is. Those who live with peace in their hearts, the Buddha continues, do not need to win every argument, prove every point, or shield themselves with pride. They know that true strength lies in gentleness, and true protection lies in wisdom. A bird lands nearby, pecking softly at the ground. You watch it for a few moments, sensing how easily it coexists with the world around it, alert yet untroubled. Peaceful living with others begins with understanding, the Buddha says. And understanding opens the door to compassion. When you truly see another person's suffering, forgiveness becomes possible. He steps over the stream with effortless ease, turning back to look at you with a warm, knowing smile. Come, he says softly. Let us explore the healing power of forgiveness. The path gently curves alongside the stream, its clear water gliding over smooth stones that glimmer beneath the sunlight. The Buddha walks in silence for a few moments, allowing the soft murmur of the flowing water to settle into your awareness. The sound is soothing, steady, natural, unforced. As you walk, you notice how easily the stream moves past each stone, never clinging, never resisting. It simply continues on its way, carrying only what it needs, releasing all else. The Buddha slows his steps and gestures toward the stones beneath the water's surface. Forgiveness, he says softly, is like this stream. It flows freely because it does not hold on to the stones that lie in its path. It neither collects them nor pushes them away. It simply lets them be and moves forward. You step closer and kneel by the edge of the water. The stones beneath your reflection look smooth, polished by time and movement. The Buddha kneels beside you, picking up a stone from the shore. Its surface is rough and heavy in his hand. When we do not forgive, he continues, we carry stones like this within our hearts. Each resentment, each wound, each memory we refuse to release becomes another weight. We believe we are protecting ourselves by holding on, but in truth, we only burden our own steps. He places the stone in your hand. It feels heavier than you expect, dense, cold, unmoving. Feel its weight, he says. This is what anger feels like. This is what bitterness feels like. This is what unresolved hurt feels like. Something you carry long after the moment has passed. You feel the stone pressing into your palm, grounding you in the reality of your own burdens. The Buddha's voice remains gentle, never urging, only guiding. Forgiveness is not saying that harm was acceptable. It is not forgetting, nor pretending the wound did not happen. Forgiveness is simply choosing not to carry the stone any longer. He invites you to hold the stone above the water. Now, he says softly, allow it to return to where it belongs. You release your fingers, and the stone drops into the stream, vanishing with a soft splash. The water closes around it effortlessly, carrying the moment forward without hesitation. You exhale, noticing a subtle lightness in your chest, as though something long held has loosened. The Buddha watches the ripples fade into stillness. Forgiveness frees the heart, he says, not for the sake of the one who caused harm, but for your own peace. When you forgive, you unbind yourself from suffering. You choose spaciousness over contraction, clarity over bitterness. You rise with him, walking slowly along the bank. Leaves rustle overhead, and sunlight flickers across the water in shifting patterns. Forgiveness is an act of compassion, he says. Compassion for others, yes, but also compassion for yourself. for you have suffered long enough by carrying the weight of what cannot be changed. You breathe deeply, letting his words settle like soft rain across your awareness. Thoughts of old hurts drift into your mind, moments that once felt sharp and defining. But in the presence of this gentle teaching, they lose their edge, becoming simply memories, no longer bound to your heart. There may be those you cannot forgive yet, the Buddha continues. This too is natural. Go gently. Begin with yourself. Begin with small hurts. Allow your heart to soften gradually, the way a frozen river thaws with the coming of spring. You continue walking until the trees part to reveal a quiet clearing filled with warm sunlight. A small breeze moves through the grass, creating gentle waves of motion. The Buddha stops and turns toward you with the softest smile. When you set down the stones you have carried, he says, your hands become free again. Free to hold compassion. Free to touch tenderness. Free to receive the beauty that each new moment offers. He lifts his palm slightly, showing you their openness. Forgiveness creates space, he says. And in that space, joy can arise. Gratitude can grow. Peace can settle. His words linger in the air like a warm glow. For the first time, you sense how forgiveness is not an obligation, but a release, a willingness to return to yourself. The Buddha steps into the sunlit clearing, the light unfolding around him in soft golden layers. Come, he says, with gentle warmth. Where forgiveness clears the heart, gratitude begins to bloom. The clearing fills with warm sunlight as you and the Buddha walk slowly across the soft grass. The air here feels lighter, as though the world itself is exhaling after a long, gentle breath. A quiet glow settles over everything. The trees, the stones, the distant hills, even the very space between your steps. The Buddha pauses, and for a moment you simply stand together in this calm brightness, letting it wash over you like a blessing. Gratitude, he begins softly, is the heart's natural response when it no longer clings to the past or fears the future. It arises when the mind rests in the present moment and sees clearly the gifts that are already here. He gestures toward the sky, a vast sweep of blue stretching endlessly overhead. Consider this breath, he says. The simple rise and fall in your chest. So often you overlook it, yet without it, nothing else is possible. Each breath is a quiet miracle, freely given. You inhale slowly, feeling cool air enter your lungs. You exhale softly, sensing warmth leave your body. Something tender stirs inside you. The realization that this simplest act of living has been with you through every joy and sorrow, every moment of confusion, every moment of clarity. Gratitude begins with noticing, the Buddha says. Noticing what supports you, what sustains you, what has carried you this far. He places his hand lightly over his own heart. Your body, though imperfect and ever-changing, has served you faithfully. Your breath has never abandoned you. Even in difficult times, life continues to offer you moments of beauty, chances to grow, opportunities to awaken. He walks forward and kneels beside a small patch of white wildflowers growing along the edge of the clearing. Their petals shimmer gently in the sunlight. These flowers bloom without asking for reward, he says. Their beauty is a reminder that the world offers gifts with no expectation. Light, color, scent, warmth, each one available to anyone who pauses long enough to see. You kneel beside him, letting your eyes rest on the delicate petals swaying in the breeze. You notice how each flower seems to open toward the sun with effortless trust. Gratitude, he continues, is not dependent on perfect conditions. It arises even in hardship, when the heart recognizes the small kindnesses that continue to appear. Someone's smile, a moment of rest, a breath that comes easily after a wave of difficulty. He stands again, brushing his robes gently. You join him as he steps back into the sunlight. When the heart practices gratitude, he says, it becomes light. Not because life has become easier, but because the mind no longer fixates on what is missing. Instead, it sees what is present, what is nourishing, what is supportive, what is beautiful. You feel the truth of this as you look around, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the rustling of leaves in the breeze, the vast open sky above, the steady presence of the Buddha at your side. Gratitude flows into you quietly, without effort, like water finding its way into the spaces where it is most needed. Gratitude softens the mind, he says. It loosens the grip of dissatisfaction and invites contentment. When you are grateful, even for small things, joy naturally arises. He turns toward a cluster of trees at the far edge of the clearing, their branches reaching upward as though in quiet celebration of the morning light. But gratitude also teaches us impermanence, he says. For we cherish what we know will not last. Gratitude acknowledges the fleeting nature of each moment and embraces it fully, without clinging. You walk with him once more, moving slowly across the field. The world feels more vivid now. Colors brighter, sounds clearer, each breath deeper. It is as though gratitude has widened your capacity to receive the world. And as gratitude deepens, the Buddha continues, it brings understanding. You begin to see how much of your life has been shaped by the generosity of others. The food you eat, the wisdom you receive, the shelter that protects you, the companions who share your path. He glances toward you, his expression kind. Even the challenges in your life have shaped you, teaching strength, patience, compassion. Gratitude recognizes this too. The path ahead narrows once more, leading into a softer, shaded part of the forest. Light filters through the leaves like small fragments of blessing drifting gently downward. When you live with gratitude, he says, letting go becomes easier. The heart that appreciates what it has does not cling desperately to what must pass. It releases with grace, trusting that new moments, new opportunities, new breaths will continue to arise. He begins walking toward the shade, the golden light fading into the cool, dappled patterns beneath the trees. Come, he says softly, his voice carrying both warmth and depth. Let us walk into the next understanding, how to let go with openness, and how release can become a path to peace. The forest shifts into a quieter light as you and the Buddha step beneath the cool canopy of trees. Sunbeams filter through the leaves in soft, scattered patches, moving gently with the breeze as though guiding your attention inward. The air carries a subtle scent of earth and moss, grounding and comforting. Your breath naturally deepens, and the pace of your steps slows, matching the calm rhythm of the Buddha walking beside you. After a few moments of unhurried silence, he speaks, his voice warm and steady. Letting go, he says, is not an act of force. It is the softening of the heart. It is the unclenching of the mind's tight fist. It is opening the hand that has held on for too long. You feel these words settle inside you like gentle ripples across still water. The Buddha continues walking, his hands loosely at his sides, each movement easeful and natural. Most suffering, he says, comes from holding on to expectations, to fears, to old stories, to identities no longer needed. We cling because we believe holding tight will give us security. But in truth, it binds us. He stops beside a large tree, with thick roots curling outward from the base like strong, grounding arms. Leaning lightly against its trunk, he invites you to approach. This tree stands firm because it is rooted, he says, pressing his palm against the bark. But it does not cling. It releases each leaf when its time has passed. It sheds what no longer serves its growth. A cool breeze stirs the branches above you, and several leaves flutter downward, landing softly at your feet. The Buddha gestures toward them. Letting go is not loss, he says. It is transformation, making space for what is new, for what is honest, for what is possible. You kneel and pick up one of the fallen leaves. It is delicate, its edges beginning to curl, its once vibrant color now softened with age. The Buddha rests beside you, placing another leaf gently in your hand. Notice how light it is, he says. This is how burdens feel when you release them. They may seem large when held within the mind, but once released, their weight disappears. He rises gracefully and invites you to stand with him. You do not let go by force, he says. You let go by understanding. When you see that clinging brings suffering, the hand opens by itself. You begin walking again, deeper into the forest. The path is narrow and peaceful, strewn with soft needles and leaves. Letting go does not mean forgetting, the Buddha continues. It means no longer carrying what cannot be changed. It means allowing the past to rest where it belongs, without dragging it into each new moment. A distant bird calls, its cry echoing lightly through the trees. Release does not mean indifference, he says. It does not mean withdrawing love or care. It means freeing your heart from the tightness of attachment, so compassion can flow more freely. You pass beneath a low arch of branches, their shadows dancing across the path, like quiet reminders of impermanence. When you loosen your grip, the Buddha says, fear softens, expectations soften, even desire softens, not disappearing, but no longer driving you. A spaciousness grows in the mind, gentle, wide, and clear. He pauses near a still pond that reflects the canopy above with mirror-like clarity. The water is undisturbed, perfectly calm. Look, he says, this pond teaches the art of letting go. When you release a thought, a memory, or a sorrow, it is like a pebble dropped into the water. The ripples come, and then they fade. The surface becomes still again. He kneels beside the pond and places his fingertips lightly on the surface. The ripples move outward in soft circles, dissolving into quietness. You feel something inside you respond. An old tension loosening, an old story lightening its hold. He stands again, serene as the water behind him. When you open the hand of the mind, he says, you experience freedom. Freedom from the stories that confined you. Freedom from the heaviness you believed you must carry. Freedom from the fear of change. You walk beside him once more as the forest begins to brighten, the trees thinning to reveal glimpses of open sky. And with this freedom, he says, the heart awakens to something deeper. For when we let go, we uncover a profound truth. Everything we experience arises from causes and conditions, like a great tapestry woven from many threads. Ahead, the path shifts toward a tranquil glade where light gathers in soft, shimmering patterns. The Buddha steps toward it with quiet confidence. Come, he says gently, his voice filled with promise. Let us look more clearly at the interwoven nature of all things. The glade you enter feels unlike any place you have walked through before, more spacious, more still, as if the very air has paused to welcome you. Sunlight pours through the open sky above, forming warm pools of light across the soft grass, while pockets of gentle shadow cradle the earth in calm. The Buddha steps into the stillness with serene familiarity, as though he has brought many travelers here to rest their minds and hearts. You follow, sensing the subtle shift in the atmosphere, a tranquility so deep it feels almost sacred. He stops at the center of the glade and turns toward you, his features illuminated by the soft glow of morning. There is a peace he says, that is not dependent on breath, or body, or even thought. A peace that remains untouched by circumstances, unshaken by change. This peace is always here beneath the movements of the mind. You stand very still, listening. The forest around you is silent in a way that feels alive, not empty. A presence rather than an absence. The Buddha gestures for you to sit with him. You lower yourself onto the grass, soft and cool beneath your palms. Close your eyes, he says gently. Let the breath move naturally. Let the body soften. Let the mind settle, like dust falling to the earth. You do as he instructs. Your breath flows in and out without guidance. Your shoulders loosen. Your chest expands gently with each inhale. The ground beneath you supports your weight without effort. As sensations settle, you notice the subtle quiet that arises. Not created by you, but revealed. A quiet deeper than the sound of wind, deeper than the rhythm of the stream you passed earlier, deeper even than the stillness of your breath. The Buddha's voice reaches you like a soft breeze across calm water. The mind creates noise through thoughts, memories, expectations, and judgments. These movements are natural, like waves on the ocean. But beneath the waves lies something vast and still. When you stop chasing thoughts or pushing them away, you begin to sink beneath their surface. You feel yourself drifting inward, not falling, not moving, just settling naturally into a gentler awareness. Thoughts arise, but they do not disturb you. They appear like brief flickers in a wide, open space. Each fades without effort. This quiet, the Buddha says, is not forced. It is the true nature of the mind when it no longer clings. When the grasping stops, when the pushing stops, peace emerges as naturally as the moon rises in the night sky. A faint warmth spreads through your chest, a soft, glowing calm. It feels both new and familiar, as though it has lived within you all along, waiting for the right moment to be remembered. You do not need to hold this peace, the Buddha continues. Holding will only make it slip away. Instead, simply rest in it. Allow it to be what it is, vast, gentle, spacious. You breathe again, and the peace deepens. There is nothing to reach for, nothing to fix, nothing to solve. Just this quiet presence expanding lightly with each breath. After a while, the Buddha speaks again, his tone even softer than before. In this quiet beyond thought, wisdom becomes clear. The heart becomes light. Compassion arises effortlessly. When the mind no longer clings, the world is seen as it truly is, fleeting, interconnected, luminous. You open your eyes slowly. The glade looks unchanged, yet somehow more radiant, as though your vision has cleared. Colors are brighter, shapes more defined, sounds more vivid. The peace inside you mirrors the peace around you. The Buddha rises, and you rise with him. This deep peace, he says, is not found only in meditation. It can accompany you through every moment. With practice, you learn to carry it within you, to return to it whenever the mind becomes restless. He begins walking toward a narrow path that leads out of the glade. The air remains quiet, but now the quiet feels like a gentle companion rather than a destination. Peace like this, he says, opens the door to understanding how precious each moment is. For when the mind is calm, it sees the impermanence and beauty of life with new clarity. Ahead, the path begins to brighten with soft golden light, signaling a shift in the journey. Come, he says with warm, serene certainty. Let us reflect on the fleeting nature of time and the beauty found in each passing moment. The path ahead narrows again, guiding you through a corridor of swaying bamboo. Their slender trunks rise upward like pillars in a tranquil temple, each one bowing gently toward the next as the wind passes through with soft whispers. As the Buddha walks, The bamboo leans slightly above him, forming a natural arch that seems to bless every step you take. The air is warm, touched by golden light, and the lingering peace from the glade continues to glow gently within your chest. After a few quiet breaths, the Buddha stops and turns toward you with serene clarity in his eyes. Clarity that feels vast, timeless, and deeply compassionate. "You have walked many steps," he says softly. "You have looked outward, to nature, to others, to the breath, to the teachings of this world. But now it is time to look within. For the path you seek is not found in the forest, nor in my words, nor in the footsteps you have followed. The path has always lived inside you. You feel something shift inside, subtle yet unmistakable, like a lantern being lit in a room you didn't realize was dim. The Buddha gestures for you to sit with him at the edge of the bamboo grove. You lower yourself onto the ground, the earth cool and supportive beneath you, and the quiet echoes of the bamboo rustle overhead like distant bells. Everything you have learned, he says, is already within your own heart. Wisdom arises not from listening alone, but from recognizing the truth that has been waiting inside you. Compassion flows not from instruction, but from your natural wish to alleviate suffering. Peace does not come from seeking elsewhere. It awakens when you stop searching outside yourself. His words settle over you like warm rain, soaking gently into the deepest parts of your awareness. You begin to sense how each teaching, impermanence, compassion, gratitude, letting go, the breath, the stillness beyond thought, has been pointing not outward, but inward, to something quietly luminous within you. The Buddha lifts a hand and places it lightly over his own heart. "This," he says, "is where the journey begins. Not with me, not with scriptures, not with mountains or rivers or forests, but with your own intention, your own sincerity, your own willingness to awaken." You mirror his gesture, placing your hand over your chest. Beneath your palm, the steady rhythm of your heartbeat resonates with surprising tenderness, not rushed, not strained, simply present. You feel the warmth of your own life, steady and real. The heart, he says, is your true guide. When clouded by craving, it wanders. When hardened by fear, it trembles. When weighed down by hatred, it closes. But when understood, cared for, and softened by awareness, it becomes your greatest teacher. A gentle breeze moves through the bamboo, making a soft chorus of rustling leaves. The Buddha's voice blends seamlessly with the sound. The wisdom you seek does not come from accumulating knowledge. It comes from quiet recognition, from seeing clearly what is here, from touching your own experience with compassion and understanding. You breathe in deeply, feeling the breath move through you with ease. You begin to understand. This journey through forests and clearings, past streams, and through sunlight has always been guiding you toward yourself. The path is not a place outside you, the Buddha continues. It is a way of seeing, a way of walking, a way of responding to each moment. Every breath you take is a step along this inner path. Every act of kindness is a signpost. Every moment of awareness is a doorway. He looks gently into your eyes. You do not need me beside you to continue. You do not need a sacred mountain or a perfect moment. You carry everything you need within you. Your breath, your clarity, your compassion, your capacity to awaken. Your heart swells with a mixture of comfort and humility. For the first time you sense that awakening is not something distant. It is close, immediate, woven into every breath you take. The Buddha rises slowly, his posture grounded and calm. You stand with him, the bamboo shifting softly overhead. When you trust the path within you, he says, you discover that awakening is not a single moment. It is a way of being, a way of seeing the world with wisdom and love. He steps forward toward a trail where the bamboo begins to thin, and the warm light of the morning spreads into a gentle glow. "Come," he says with serene warmth, "let us walk toward the closing of this journey and prepare the heart for final reflection." The bamboo thins around you as the Buddha leads you toward a softly opening path where the trees stretch wider apart and sunlight lays itself in long golden ribbons across the ground. The air shifts subtly, still peaceful, still gentle, but carrying the faintest whisper of the larger world waiting beyond the forest. Each step feels different now, lighter, more grounded, filled with an ease that grows from understanding rather than escape. The Buddha walks beside you in unhurried silence, allowing the forest to offer its own farewell in the rustle of leaves and the soft tapping of branches against one another. "Every journey," he says quietly, "eventually brings us back to where we began. But when the heart has changed, the world is never the same upon return." You feel those words settle warmly inside you. The path ahead brightens, revealing familiar shapes in new ways. The curve of a tree trunk, the shimmer of light on moss, the soft movement of shadows. Everything looks both ordinary and extraordinary, as though your vision has been cleansed by stillness. The Buddha slows his pace, letting you walk slightly ahead so you can sense the shift in yourself. "You have walked deep into understanding," he says. "You have touched peace, compassion, gratitude, and the quiet clarity of your own mind. These are not experiences bound to this forest. They travel with you." A small clearing opens, framed by gentle hills and bordered by tall flowering plants. You pause, remembering how you entered the forest earlier, perhaps with questions, restlessness, or a longing for something you could not yet name. Now, standing at this threshold, the landscape feels welcoming, as though acknowledging all that has unfolded within you. The Buddha steps to your side. "Sometimes," he says, "we believe peace is found only in faraway places, away from the tasks and noise of daily life. But true peace must be carried into ordinary moments, into conversations, into choices, into quiet pauses between responsibilities. The forest has shown you what is possible. Now your life becomes the practice ground." You breathe in deeply. The air feels broader here, touched by scents from beyond the tree line, distant earth, open fields, the warmth of sunlight rising over the day. There is a gentle stirring inside you, a readiness that wasn't there before. The Buddha smiles, seeing your breath settle with ease. "What you found here," he says, "does not vanish when the world becomes busy again. Stillness lives within you. Compassion lives within you. Gratitude lives within you. When confusion arises, return to your breath. When suffering appears, return to kindness. When fear tightens the heart, return to letting go." He lifts his hand and touches lightly to the center of his chest. "And remember," he adds, "the path is never far. It begins exactly where your feet touch the ground." You walk with him again, following the path as it gently bends toward the forest's edge. Light grows brighter, birdsong more layered, the breeze carrying hints of open fields and distant life. Yet even as the world expands before you, the peaceful rhythm of your breathing remains steady. As you near the boundary between forest and open meadow, the Buddha stops. He turns to face you fully, his presence warm and luminous, as though lit from within. "You have learned," he says, "not by my words alone, but by your own experience. This is how understanding deepens, through seeing, through feeling, through resting within the truth of your own heart." He raises his hand in a gentle gesture of blessing. "May your steps be grounded in peace. May your heart remain open and steady. May your mind be clear, compassionate, and free." A soft stillness surrounds you, as though the forest itself is offering its farewell. You feel gratitude swell quietly within, gratitude for the journey, for the teachings, for the calm that now lives beneath each breath. The Buddha nods slightly, acknowledging your readiness to continue. Go gently, he says. Carry these teachings into your world, into your relationships, into each moment that unfolds. And when the heart grows weary, return to the inner forest you have cultivated. It will welcome you every time. He turns toward a shaded path that loops deeper into the woods, continuing his own journey with serene steps. You watch him for a moment, feeling both empowered and at peace. Then you face the openness before you, the wide field glowing under the morning sun, the gentle whisper of life waiting beyond the trees. You take a slow breath, your heart steady, your mind clear, and you step forward, ready for the final reflection of this long and luminous journey. The sunlight stretches gently across the open field as you take your first steps beyond the forest's edge. The earth beneath your feet feels warm and steady, as though welcoming you back into the wider world with quiet assurance. A soft breeze moves through the grasses, carrying hints of pine from the woods behind you, and the simple freshness of open air ahead. Though the Buddha no longer walks at your side, the peace cultivated through the journey rests within you like a glowing ember, steady, warm, and enduring. Then, as though summoned by the calm rising in your heart, the Buddha appears once more at the far side of the meadow, bathed in a golden light that seems to shine from both the world and from within him. He walks toward you with unhurried steps, his presence radiating the same serenity that has guided you through forests, streams, and glades of stillness. When he reaches you, he stops, his eyes soft with compassion and quiet knowing. You have walked deeply into the middle way, he says, his voice a gentle current in the morning air. Not the path of excess, nor the path of denial, but the balanced way, the way of awareness, kindness, and peace. His words settle around you like a warm mantle, grounding your breath and loosening the last subtle remnants of strain within your body. The middle way, he continues, is not a destination, but a way of living. It is the art of meeting each moment with steadiness, neither clinging nor resisting. It is the practice of seeing clearly, acting wisely, and resting in the truth of what is. He lifts his hand in a soft gesture, as though blessing the very air around you. This path invites you to walk gently, he says, to honor your breath, your body, your heart, to be kind even in difficulty, to listen deeply, to others, yes, but also to yourself. This is how peace endures. A quiet hum of life fills the meadow, the distant chirping of birds, the whisper of wind through the tall grass, the steady rhythm of your breath. Everything feels connected, woven together in harmony. The Buddha's voice blends with these natural sounds, becoming part of the landscape itself. You have learned the strength of compassion, he says. You have touched the freedom of letting go. You have seen the vastness within your own mind. Carry these with you, not as heavy teachings, but as gentle lanterns that light your way. He steps closer, his expression tender and deeply calm. When suffering arises, he says, meet it with understanding. When joy arises, meet it with presence. When confusion arises, meet it with patience. The middle way lives in these moments, in your willingness to remain open and steady in the face of life as it unfolds. Your heart softens, warmed by the profound simplicity of his words. He continues, his tone wrapped in compassion. Remember that awakening is not found in distant mountains or hidden temples. It is found in your breath, in your choices, in the small acts of kindness you offer to the world. It is found in the quiet courage of returning, again and again, to awareness. The Buddha lifts his face slightly, letting the golden light rest upon him. I offer you this blessing, he says softly. May your heart be steady and spacious. May your breath guide you home. May compassion flow from you like a gentle river. May wisdom illuminate your steps. And may peace, the deep peace that lives beneath all things, be your constant companion. A warm stillness spreads through your entire being, like sunlight settling into each corner of your awareness. The Buddha's presence feels both close and boundless, like standing in the center of a vast, calm sky. He speaks once more, his voice as soft as a settling leaf. You walk the middle way now, not because I lead you, but because it has awakened within you. Then he bows to you, a gesture filled with immeasurable respect. You bow in return. When you lift your gaze again, the Buddha's form begins to soften into the brightness of the morning light, as though dissolving into the peace he embodies. Soon he is no longer visible, yet his presence remains, resting in your breath, echoing gently in your heart. The meadow grows quiet, the breeze softens, your breath deepens, and the peace you carry settles around you like a warm blanket, inviting your whole being into rest. You take one final slow breath, feeling the depth of the journey settle fully within you, and then you ease into the quiet, ready to drift gently into the embrace of stillness and sleep.